screen for cancer. I'm pretty sure any father who loves his daughter.
ChatGPT.
Ask her if miscarriage increases the risk.
You're getting addicted to ChatGPT now. You're gonna
Yeah, we are. It's
risk
great.
your memory and your own.
You know what? Michaela's finally right about something. About Larry and Jihad.
Thank you.
ChatGPT says no. Major medical organization. I mean, I don't know why I'm doing this. Haven't finished. National Cancer.
Not going to go with this.
Oh,
The National Cancer Association is not going to go with this because it's not politically correct.
All right. Well, look, I'm looking at you, Michaela.
These major medical associations are politically correct up and down the
Oh, by the way,
Yes.
I was right too. A full-term pregnancy can affect breast cancer risk. Pregnancy. You should stop saying that.
But he just said something about not nursing. So it has to do
God.
with the maturation of the breast tissue. That's right?
No,
Right?
literally they did a longitudinal study on women who had abortions, and then 100 women who all have breast cancer, and you ask them a bunch of questions, and one of them is, did you have an abortion? You can see why that's not very scientific. They could have also had a cheeseburger, right? They could also have had a cat.
This was in 2009, the Committee on Gynecology Practice of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists concluded that breast cancer risk.
Mm-hmm. So they, at first they had
Scientific prospective studies.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what I was saying about the breast tissue, sort of, starting whatever it does.
Sorry, what?
The cell, it starts maturing and then it's kind of things half done. I'm sorry, I can't put it more straight.
No, you're thinking about it strangely. It's just that whatever process was undergoing just gets reverted.
I mean,
It's not like you perform an abortion and then the next day it's just like.
I'm not even sure breast tissue begins to change until much later on, but
Yeah, okay.
No, it does.
Well, it starts
It
immediately.
usually starts. Well, depends on what you may maybe, but it starts in the first trimester.
First trimester.
Katie, what do you think it is
I
that
just-
makes it
Oh yeah, from the first week
feel a
they
way
start to
for
reverse.
a man to tell her she's wrong versus listening to you?
I'm not a feminist.
She's not feminist either, that's right.
And I know he's a doctor.
And he is a doctor. He's a doctor. He's not he's
Conception pregnant. She hasn't seen the doctor yet. And I was asking her, are you feeling this, feeling that? Right, breast, right away.
18 days since the last period.
No, since conception. Because
She's like 4 weeks, just 4 weeks pregnant.
She's got PC.
I want you to meet someone in the room, Lombardo. Can you tell him hello, please?
Hey, Lombardo.
Oh, shit. What's good, Dragon?
What's good, Lombardo?
Okay, so I guess we're going to stay some professional this week.
No, they're wrong.
Because you took your life game.
Look. It's a nigga I know rap. In my opinion, he better than me at rap.
Real. Look how my
It's crowding and there's no one else around.
I wouldn't be comfortable with that at all.
Sometimes you have no choice. If it's coming, it's coming.
So we lose.
So you have to come to understanding, look at reality first. And before you get to God, you need to, that's the question you need to ask yourself. So, you can say, I think hence I am. You can trust your own consciousness that you are aware and you are experiencing. You can't trust what you're experiencing to be truly representative of reality. That's the problem, right? because you're a fallible human. You've witnessed other humans around you. They're hallucinating shit. So you never know. You could be the one hallucinating, right? So experiencing, I'm not sure of what I'm experiencing. Now the question is there something fundamental that can be experienced?
I don't care about
that
those.
Is the
air that comes out of here that makes
that is infallible?
Yeah.
Megatron, hot mic.
Yeah. So I want to put the air filter right here.
Go ahead, Megatron.
Yeah. So is there this experience that I can engage with, that I can know is the truth, and I can be sure that I don't hallucinate? Is there this experience that can be independent on its own? There is no subjective way of experiencing it, and this is intrinsic to itself. Does this factor exist? It should, because this is the determining factor of all the effects that we see and the contingencies that we see. So we have to hold something being timeless. So once you start understanding reality, you are going to get pretty much the Gundam that represents God. At that point, do you believe this Gundam is actually, does it have a pilot?
You got to be careful with the language you use. Have to, must to, listen. You're putting the cart before the horse. Putting the cart before the horse.
At the end of the day, it's whether you believe God is a Holy Spirit. Do you believe God is a being with a soul, pretty much?
Through mental hospital treatment.
They might give it to her, but they might also say only 4 years, 10 years, followed by some probation most likely or something.
No. If you would have, I bet you would have been the guy who would have been Carmelo Anthony is not guilty, and if he does, he's only going to get a few years of advance. Oh, he got fucking one.
Remember, she's been on trial for a year or two already?
What happened to that girl what about those two girls who with the Slender Man killing? Got life.
You guys remember these trials go a really long time? Sometimes the trials go so long that even when they get found guilty, there'll be 2,000 days of credit paid off because of the trial of them sitting there and waiting. So they'll credit them all that time off. So if you get 10 years, but you were in trial for 3 years, you only have to technically do 7 years in actual jail.
Now this bitch, I bet you, in the mental institution, I think probably the remainder of her life, and you're saying asylum or whatever. Maybe you tested me myself. Well, that crash out.
But
so they're gonna deliberate whether they're guilty by insanity or guilty by not insanity.
Describes what I see as the reality of the situation. I totally understand what it is now. We don't agree well with one another. And I think there's a lot of things that are saying on politics. And America has had a choice 2 times between a white person and a black person, and they selected the black person by a good margin. He had a pretty good
success. They selected a person!
And I was there for that election. And I remember the optimism a lot of us felt, both by the meaningful action of electing somebody who was not just another white candidate, having tree, and also his message, right? I mean, we all remember it was hope and change. I think what was interesting to me is if we say the base of the Democratic Party, all your numbers I think are around what I remember as well. Overwhelmingly black women voted for Harris. Black men moved a little bit away from Harris, but again, overwhelmingly voted for Harris. Now here's the reality of neither good nor bad, it's just the number.
have our senses that we experience through.
Which is ourselves. Back in a circle again.
Yeah, our five senses.
Yeah, we're in a circle again.
Why? You can't trust those senses?
No, I'm saying, why does that matter for truth?
No, truth is a placeholder. We're saying, is there something to know or experience about reality that is fundamental? That, since we have causation, there must be something fundamental that isn't caused on its own that is responsible for all these factors. Now, is that thing still existing? Does it still? Actually, it's just God is dead. Like, that's actually
Give me
the atheist
idea.
belief.
Give me the idea, sure.
That's what it seems from our perspective. It seems like this universe is between expansion and a contraction. And
Why does our perspective matter? Why does our perspective matter in any of this?
our perspective matters. Your subjective perspective doesn't matter. We understand that because it doesn't matter, it doesn't necessarily matter your subjective. We seek out that which is objective. Yes, God would be that objective factor.
By what criteria?
Causation.
And why is causation criteria?
Appreciate God.
Your belief in causation is nothing that happened. It's like a psychological expectation, rather than some kind of like direct observation.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
It's regardless, even if you believe what we're experiencing is subjective to the mind, and it doesn't represent the objective ontology of reality, that's irrelevant. You're still trying to deduce your intellect, your logic, the metaphysics of reality.
I know you held to Nargiss's view on fundamental. I know that. I thought you did already.
Yeah.
Hold their views on what? She just she just likes to crash out and throw against the God of reason.
You the philosopher, impersonal God.
There is no such thing as the philosopher. She's acting like her. You know what, Draco? She acts like her mumbo jumbo is universal in some sense, or there's a religion backing it up. Like, no, just because what you're saying might be a different way of representing the virtues that are found and the ethics that are found in the Abrahamic traditions of physics, does not mean that what you're saying should be something that people can just click to, or people can concede to. No.
He's doing a Megatron.
Listen, all I'm saying, Nikhil, is that theists need to stop pretending they're in this objectively stronger position.
We are in this objectively strong position because we can justify truth, meanwhile atheists cannot. Yes.
That is a tall order to do.
A variable
Back to the issue.
already automatically assume something fundamental.
Honestly, Marcus, theists can't not deal with reason.
It is so bad.
It's so embarrassing.
It's so bad.
Exist, then truth must be this fundamental fact statement that's only applicable in space time.
Alright, see, get in here. The real atheist gets in here now.
Atheist, CM is not an atheist. He literally said the other day in front of Barth, he's Catholic. He literally said this. Barth, did he not say this?
You're gonna learn the real priesthood right now.
Barth, did he not say this?
That's why you got Isaac Newton on your PTR. When did you become a gospel?
I don't know. No, I'm not a God believer.
Probably big into that modern Mayoral, so I appreciate that. No, I think that, and somebody was asking, like, for the title, it looks like 24% of people crossed over that voted for Trump that then went on to vote for Mondani. And anybody who wants to, like, quickly check in on and so, earlier for the people here, I have a thesis and I want to kind of like explore it with others. And a lot of the people they polled, like, they just went to the streets and Trump's like charismatic. I don't feel it, but clearly he is to a big section of people. And I think what it is, and I remember this when he was running and getting elected, he would constantly call out the legitimate problems. He talked about America being stacked for rich people. Of course, he is one. He talked about coastal educated elites. He is one. He talked about people paying their taxes. He admitted he doesn't. He's smart. He talked about nepotism and power. Of course, look at what he's done. He talked about corruption and supporting foreign governments over the U.S. Again, bailouts of his allies around the world and pulling funding from other friends. He often calls out something that I would go, if he stopped there, I'd go yes. And then he does something crazy that makes it worse afterwards. And then, of course, there's a lot of things Trump, like, Haitians eating cats and dogs. There's a lot of overt lies and racist bigotry and all sorts of crap that he did. And I think what I'm starting to see is this thesis that the way you get Trump voters or MAGA or something, someone more conservative, I've heard this narrative that always the way to appeal to them is to get the most centrist person possible. Because if you get something like hypothetically exactly in the middle, the most moderate milquetoast candidate, then the Republicans can say, hey, Trump's crazy, we'll come over. But I think what's happening is neoliberalism and these broad policies aren't working for most people, and they demand a change. And so if political parties are pushing forward traditional candidates, traditionally wealthy, well-educated people that are doing okay are willing to look out for their interests and say that's fine. But for a growing number of Americans in this K-shaped, and if I use a term somebody doesn't know, I will be so indebted to you if you ask what it means, but we're having this K-shaped economy where the rich are getting richer. Since 1929, this is the first time since 1929, 43% of income was made through wages. Investments greater than 15% don't have $1,000 for an emergency. You're not investing in stocks, bonds, you're barely holding on. That means that money is shifting, the wages are going down, and asset ownership is increasing people's wealth. And I think people are demanding a change. And I think what Mamdani did was he said, look, I'm going to offer you killing it. I think he exposed the myth of how powerless government is, the myth that Republicans run on, that government is only a problem, never can be a solution. And the truth that a lot of Democrats aren't willing to aggressively solve problems, because a lot of the times any politician, the Mamdani and some of these socialists are offering conservatives, they don't want a gentle offering, or maybe not paradoxically, for conservatives, Trump's delivered very, very little other than social issues and making them feel like they've won. So they're saying my economic conditions are worse. Mamdani's doing the opposite. He seems to be demonstrating that I can help your material conditions get better. And I think maybe even I'm mistaken. I think there's a base that will never move. And I think there is a MAGA movement that is bordering on religious. Look at the iconography. But I think there might be a lot of people that voted for Trump just because they want better conditions.
He's the president of marketing propaganda. So working just from my perspective, working in enterprise software sales, I look at Trump as the person actually that comes in and asks the questions, that comes in from, the CMO, the head of marketing, comes in and asks all the great questions, to sell to the company. But the reality is that company wouldn't survive if you don't deliver on the answers that you address. So that's the way I look at Trump, because he made all these promises, asks all the good questions, sets it up, makes good questions. Are you having these problems in business? The problem with Trump is he doesn't deliver on anything. And that's why I got so mad when he was, being, run again, because the first administration, he had an infrastructure bill. China moves way in front of us because they improved their infrastructure. We did nothing. And we're seeing the same exact thing to a huge another extent right now. So essentially, he knows how to set up the questions. He knows how to create the marketing propaganda, but he doesn't deliver on anything. He would be fired at any company if he were to be the CEO. Nobody wants.
One thing he delivered on was lowering immigration to a record.
But he also killed people, and we didn't sign up for that.
But that doesn't.
I didn't sign up for that.
So
no, but I'm being serious. I think that really, he killed. No, did you see Alex Peretti's parents speaking the other day? I have to be honest. I cried about it. Did you see this?
Okay,
they finally spoke to him.
I would never cry about.
That's not.
Okay, so I just needed everybody just to. My fear is in having a topic like this. It's not a faux performative
His parents just spoke the other day. I hope you guys give him some.
You have to mute up.
Give him some grace. He just his parents just spoke.
You gotta mute up. So one of the structural things is it just doesn't work if people cut off over each other. This isn't a responsibility.
I wasn't done speaking.
See, you gotta go get, you weren't talking.
You know, or whatever. I wasn't even done speaking. You're gonna cut me off because someone else interrupted me? Okay, fine.
You gotta be quiet, okay? So the structure is one person goes at a time, and there's no point, if somebody says something I think is factually inaccurate, all fact debate and harassment thing, it just doesn't, I don't get anything out of it, and there's things that you can do that in, so I'm gonna try and keep that from happening. So, my job is to be of service to the community in this, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I don't know, I'm gonna point out that I agree with you, that he brought immigration to record lows. And I think there are a lot of people in the US that like that. I'm not one of them. For every 5 immigrants come to this country, we gain 1 extra job for a domestic foreign citizen. We're in a graying economy, and the loss of immigration is the only thing keeping our birth replacement rate up. It's an existential threat. If you look at Europe and Asia, once you start dropping below, I think our domestic birth rate's like 1.4, and immigrant birth rates in the US are 1.8. So to me, Trump deporting all these people and stopping immigration is a threat. And it's why they're talking about getting rid of Social Security, trying to privatize programs, raising the retirement age, and Trump's own admission that he can no longer afford to provide healthcare, education, the things Mamdani's done. And that's going to be a fact if we don't get immigration. So I agree with you that a lot of people don't agree with me. I also think these are objective stats you can look up. And when you look up conservative or progressives, this is what the data shows. It is agnostic of political party. You won't find somebody who can provide data for review that will show other data. Right. And you can look up facts like birth rate. So I'm gonna do something weird that we don't do on Clubhouse, Rob. You are right that he lowered the immigration rate. I think that's
and we really, in the terms of the argument that was happening when I said that, we should really just stop there. And that was the response to what somebody said, and they're proven wrong, right? And then we can have a new conversation now, but let's end that there.
Sorry, what was the part?
It's just right. So just an answer. Trump didn't deliver on anything. Yes, he did. He said he would get rid of all the illegal immigrants, as many as and look at the numbers, right? He did great on that. So that's that, right? And then we can have a new conversation about whatever you want to talk about.
So you are correct that Trump has been very aggressive, and I also think C is 100% correct. There are more.
What is she correct on that? He didn't
go just like I one at a time. I'm going to enforce it. C is correct. I watched people get shot in broad daylight, no charges. I've watched them resist local authorities being able to review cases. I've seen them classify parents as domestic terrorists when they had toys on their front yard, thing. We're just trying to get to school. I watched it with my own 2 eyes, and I'm not going to do the 1984 don't trust your eyes. So the fact is that I do think Americans are under existential threat. Violence has drastically increased. One of my longest friend in my life, one of her closest friends, was a student at Columbia who was a Buddhist pacifist. And he was arrested for being a pacifist and speaking out against war. And he was detained and missed the birth of his son. It was written all over in the Times. You can look about it. Every major newspaper talked about this at the time. So I think there's morally important things. Germany has to issue my family, some from Germany, were trying to come out. They have to deal with a warning that you might be detained because German citizens were randomly detained for no reason, and that had never happened before, for 6 to 7 days because they were worried about her immigration status. When the problem of wealth inequality, and this is a great example of Trump saying the solution for wealth inequality is to kick out immigrants, because it's under the false, a basic thing if you study economics anywhere, the idea that if you kick out all the, bam, you're golden, because now you can have all 1,000 jobs. However, what economic data shows is that immigration tends to increase employment and create more jobs for the domestic population. So this is an example of what I highlighted earlier. I think you're right. Trump's done a lot, and that's my thesis. Most of it's been worse. I think also C's completely right. I'm watching people being murdered, my friends being detained, crazy situations in the real world. So to me, these are all negatives, but I do understand that there's a certain percentage, right? We're all fools. There's a certain percentage that just hates people from other countries and don't want them here. They're just bigots.
But that conversation isn't relevant to this.
Hold on just a second, go. It is. I mean,
It's not, though. It's really not.
The second part is there's a certain percentage of people that like this. So I think what's interesting is, why are these people crossing over to support Mondani? He's wanting to protect immigrants. He's saying that it's not immigrants' fault. So people in cities like New York are willing to cross over from Trump to Mondani. So that must indicate that their primary voting decision-making is not immigration status. That wasn't why they did this, because they would never cross over. And so I think that's one thing to seriously consider if we're having a conversation about this.
Yeah, can I jump in really quick, because I'm kind of glad he said what he said, because that was the point I was going to make. Is Trump's whole campaign that was on bigotry and otherism, right? The whole campaign. If you really think about why people really voted for Trump, like if you really read between the lines, it's all about what immigrants are, what black people are doing, what Muslims are doing. It's never really about, oh, I really love the fact that Trump does this or Trump does this. It's about like, oh, I don't like these people, I don't like these people, or these people are doing this, or these people are criminals, or these people are this, right? Which are all like false narratives, like just to be real. But at the end of the day, it's all ran on otherism, and it makes people feel like they're better than other human beings, and it makes them feel like they're superior to other human beings, and that's what he ran on. And I think he shed a light on an ideology, or he at least polarized America in a way where people feel entitled or ignited to feel like other people are the issues of America, right? Like black people are the issue, or Mexicans are the issue, or Muslims are the issue of America. And I think when he made people feel that way with with the language that he used, with the divisive tactics that he used, I think that's why people, and I think it's something that people are ashamed to admit, but he's saying things that other people don't want to say because they feel like if they say it, they will be racist or they will be a bigot. But at the end of the day, they agree with him, but they don't want to admit this is the reason why. Because otherwise, what other reason why would you?
One thing though, Type.
Hold on. Go. Remember the ball.
I feel you though, man, but like you should be able to have back and forth a little.
Stop. You can. So I have taught and spoke and run things, and I have a certain flavor of it that's not most of Clubhouse. And I believe that if we don't focus on what most of the internet is, and there's all sorts of data on how it's hurting our attention, increasing division, lowering our ability to interpret information. So going slow and thorough, that's the structure of this room.
Sure.
And if it doesn't work, there are other rooms that aren't this way. My room's not better, it's just different. That's why I'm doing it this way. So Taekwon, I got a question for you. Because you're in New York, you're seeing it in real time. Some other people's concern, they're afraid of people coming into this country. I don't really share that concern. I've lived in a border town, farming town full of immigrants. Never had one hurt me. So just difference of opinion, that's fine. We can get into the factuality and the analysis if people want, but there's also a matter of that's just your opinion and like the dude bites. But I'm curious why people would cross over on, so Taekwon, why do you think, especially young men, they said are the biggest group that crossed over, why do you think young men in New York, in spite of immigration and all these other issues, why do you think they crossed over to vote for Mondani?
Well, I think if you look at the state of New York right now, like I'm looking for apartments right now. Like I'm in Astoria, right? A single bedroom in Astoria is like $3,000, like for one bedroom. You know what I mean? And if you want something really nice, it's gonna cost you like $4,000. New York has become the haven for the rich. Like literally, you can't live in New York. You're gonna live like in a small room with a radiator. Like thank God, like I have a rent stabilized place that I've lived for in a while. But this is a pre-World War II building. It's a really old building, and I'm looking for an upgrade. But all the upgrades are like super uber expensive over here. So I think that's one thing. I even as far as like him fixing potholes and him just actually following through with his word. on certain things, and we actually seeing action. I don't think we really seen a politician actually do this and actually seemingly care about because I think and that's what my problem with Trump is. I think your speech and how divisive you are with people matters, right? And like how you engage people matters. That's why I think Obama was so brilliant, because the way he engaged was in a very unifying way. I think Mondani models Obama in a lot of ways in that sense, where the way he engaged people was in a very unifying way, and not in a divisive way like Trump does, right? And I just think, for the people who don't like him, who still say they don't like him, it's because he's Muslim. Like literally every single person that I said that said they don't like Mondani is because he's Muslim, and it's so odd that you don't like someone because they're Muslim or because they're Middle Eastern or because they're African or whatever, because they look a certain way. It's just such a illogical thing that I can't really start to fathom that kind of logic. I mean, I understand it, but I don't.
I think the thing is, like, certain types of bigotry and prejudice, I think you could explain to a person. I think when people say they don't understand it, tell me if this is what you mean, because I like to decode this. It means I can't empathize with that, and it feels so strange.
Yeah, it feels very strange to me. I mean, I understand it because I'm an adult, so I understand why, but I just don't understand like I just don't understand the logic behind it.
I think there is a certain percentage of this country. Let me tell me if this resonates with you. All of our media and marketing and the social dynamics of our country tend to come back to like a powerful group trying to atomize us, trying to make us like small, isolated individuals. And the easiest way to break people up, right, is just like, what do they look like? Because I don't need to think about you, I can just see it. The other easy one is, what area are you in? And if you look right now, think how much politicians, like, this wasn't around when I was a kid. That wasn't that long ago. You weren't like, I hate Texans, and Texans weren't like, fuck.
Can you please repeat yourself? And can we all go like one at a time, please? I just want to hear him out.
No, I was just trying to recap 2 quick points, which is number one, when you make the statements that, hey, none of us can know anything true, that statement itself, you can't claim that that's true because you don't know. So, and if you're starting from the position of I don't know, then there's no point in having the conversation if you're just going to say I don't know and I got the I don't know. So here we have to try to find some way for there to be a basis of thing. The point of calling it grounding is that it's the thing that everything is built upon. If there's always something else behind it, then it's not holding up anything. But we do have to try to figure out what that is.
That's kind of where I was getting at with the whole epistemic like justification, and I think Islam and Christianity can actually posit that. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure Islam has its own concept of the tag argument, but yeah, there's no epistemic justification, and I said that earlier.
Yeah, you did. I mean, it's still tag-ish, but.
And then beyond that, Islam is not even talking about arguing. It goes beyond that. Meaning, are you patient enough to follow me? That teacher said to Musa. So Prophet Musa, it being asked, teacher, can you be my teacher? And the teacher said, are you patient enough to follow me? That is beyond argument. That's something that we are talking about, the transcendence, the mystic.
But I do want to back this up just a little bit. Now, I can just sit there and say, fuck it, I forfeit. Allow me to be convinced by your atheism, right? And when given the opportunity...
You have not responded. You haven't responded to what I've said.
That's fine.
If I were to build up...
I mean, you're not atheist anyway.
I mean, again, me using logic as a tool, frameworks and stipulations behind logic, it's not the same thing as saying you can't know anything. I can operate within the tool of the framework and operate by its frame. It doesn't mean, therefore, you're like, oh, well, you can't know things. I'm just operating off of the framework. That's it.
Yeah,
This is a misconception from your view.
Right, but again, right, this is an atheist argument, right?
the Agrippa's trilemma. This is what they use.
There is no way to.
And the point is like when you apply it, this is an arbitrary stop. So we're basically asking for a furthermore.
Making the claim, yeah, you're the one making.
No, I'm not. See, like you're not listening. I'm saying, what if I just say, okay, I grant that God does not exist, and for the final closing in this argument here, you can convince me now to be an atheist, and I say, okay, now that's an arbitrary stop. Let's just suppose God does not exist. Now give me the furthermore explanation.
It's not the arbitrary stop would be you just use God as a grounding and stop. Like what grounds God? Like everyone is doing an arbitrary stop. I don't know why one is an arbitrary, the other one is not an arbitrary.
Why does it necessitate?
Or you get saying what grounds God? God by yeah, if you're gonna concede on our definition of God, then yes, yeah.
Why am I repeating myself? Because obviously nobody's understanding. That's not convincing you. Using the same framework of the dialogue, we come to an arbitrary stop at logic. You're claiming that I'm using the God of the gaps fallacy, and I say, okay, I believe you. This is a fallacy, right? You're at the end of the day, they're just making the same move in self-asserting logic and saying it's true and it's justified on no basis or fundamental grounding whatsoever. So they're making the same move. So the very same thing that I'm doing, that they claim I'm doing, is the very same thing that they're doing. So even if they convinced me as a theist, okay, I just grant it. Okay, fuck it, I'll grant your argument. Now, let's go past the arbitrary stop at logic. Can you explain it further? Can you give a further explanation and a justification without the arbitrary stop? And the reason of this exercise is that they're going to have to go into some sort of
Why does there have to be an explanation beyond that?
Or the question becomes, what is
because
you're going to use?
Epistemology, right? Agrippa's trilemma. So the Agrippa's trilemma actually asks you for a reasonable justification, one.
Yeah.
And two, to establish some sort of theory of justification for language being tangible, for example, or facts being tangible.
Yes. Why is that a problem? I'm sorry.
Why are you asking me a question? Does everybody understand what I say? Or?
Well, yeah, we get what you're saying. You're
okay, what am I saying, Nigus?
You're saying we've come to a stop, right? Both sides have come to a stop. You, however, can go ahead and further justify with this thing called grounding.
No.
Okay.
I'm going to do this one more time, and after this, I'm going to move on. So pay attention. I just granted the atheist, God does not exist. And I'm left with this dilemma of where the fuck does logic come from and what's the justification for it? And they say, I don't fucking know. Now what?
Well, that's it. Unless you have a reasonable justification explanation that is symmetry glitching.
What's wrong with
you have a better explanation, and if you bring God, it has to provide some value, right? It's like
I don't know. It's no explanation. That's what it is. And Griffith's trilemma, for an example, calls for some justified epistemic justification for your theory of knowledge. Why ought I believe the way that you believe that logic just appears in and out of existence out of nowhere in fucking mankind, where the only creatures that can express it, understand it, know what it is. It's some etherical thing that lives out there in the ether that's magically granted to exist, but at the same time, it doesn't exist. I mean, they use the same language. They use the same exact language.
Why does it not? It's not
grounds do to explain it, but then they have no justification for the metaphysics.
I have.
Yeah, but that's the argument. The argument.
If I could post something,
The argument is that theists stop pretending they're in a stronger position.
Okay, let me say something briefly. So the problem here is that logic is not a grounding point because it's an abstract concept. It doesn't ground physical reality. Okay, so that's why the starting point is not what is the grounding. The starting point is the necessary being. Right? When it becomes obvious that that is a self-evident starting point, and you can even make deductive arguments for it, then your basis, like anything who rejects or denies that, I don't want to do this because Darius is going to enjoy this. But anyone who rejects or denies that is in a position to make an argument for why they don't hold to the necessary thing. Usually, what happens is even for atheists, they do have a concept of the necessary thing because they're technically not nothing. They'll just appeal to something first. Maybe sometimes they'll appeal to some abstract concepts like logic. But each of those things, as you evaluate them, you realize that can't be the necessary thing. The universe is contingent. The laws of logic are abstract. They don't ground physical reality. So then you end up with the necessary thing. And then there's other arguments, or there are other sort of there are other logical, there are other necessary logical entailments of the necessary thing. And from there, you can build, I think, 6 or 7 core points of what we understand to be God. Eternality,
Muslim.
power,
Sorry, has anyone claimed so far that logic grounds physical reality?
It sounds like a non sequitur. Just saying.
Jacob, what's the ground to just necessary existence?
Necessary being
Not
does not
even
follow.
necessary
If
being.
logic is the stopping point, the necessary being does not follow.
Logic cannot be a stopping point because it's an abstract concept.
But has anyone
is
anyone claiming logic grounds physical reality?
I'm saying if you say logic is the foundation of reality, if you say that, some people will say, oh, okay, then what the foundation must be, there must be something that's the foundation, so I'm going to say it's logic. That's why you can't stop at logic. Logic is not the foundation of reality. It's an abstract concept.
Yeah. The argument
And God is not an abstract concept?
No, brother. Why do you think God is an abstract concept?
Well, demonstrate God is not abstract and only in the mind.
What are you talking about? Yeah, the necessary
Okay, what is abstract? What is abstract? Let's define it.
Fuck you guys!
More concentrated than logic.
But see, here's the blunder, Draco. That you see, like, here's the blunder.
Your religion. You can't appeal to your religion. It's circular.
Here's the blunder, right? In any kind of metaphysical, when we use the metaphysics to explain God, is God in the fucking mind? Is that where God starts?
No, arguments like
what I'm saying is
arguments for intelligence.
necessary being. No way does that follow an immaterial, quote unquote, spiritual, quote unquote, God.
We haven't built those places.
Fundamentally material like everything else.
Yeah, so no, this is the problem, Draco. The necessary being, you have to see what the logical entailments are. When you say it's materialism made up of atoms, that's not a necessary being by definition because it's contingent. So it's going to be excluded from the discussion of what's a necessary being.
Yes, Avicena. Tell us more.
Yeah,
just because something is
Rashad is speaking of primarily Avicena's argument goes a long way.
I didn't want to say that because I do know
that's pretty much the only thing Michael said that he got right was that logic doesn't ground physical reality. It's the opposite. Physical reality grounds logic. The reason logic works is because physical reality follows those patterns. You just have it completely backwards. I can tell you where.
Okay, great. If you can agree with me. Yeah, so it's the logic of the gas fallacy, right? So you make the same blunder.
Master of logic is the.
What do you mean? No. What do you mean? No.
The fractal already shown. Already. Mandelbrot already saying it. Hey, the fractal behind the logic because you can see I've done it. The Mandelbrot, the Benoit. Mandelbrot saying he's a doctor, he's a physician. He says something very amazing. He's talking about the fractal.
Yeah, but once again, so checkpoint. So CM, you're right. It's possible that logic is grounded in reality, right? But that still means now we have to find the thing that grounds reality itself. And when we ask that question, I'm not actually. It does follow. I'll explain why. The reality that we know, the physical reality, is contingent. It cannot ground itself, and it cannot be grounded in a contingent thing. That's what contingent things are. Do you understand what contingent and necessary means?
Yes, and I think you're using it.
How is it? How do you know?
A contingent thing. A contingent thing is something that changes or is made up of
Something
parts.
that changes is something that changes. The contingent
You don't know
like
what these
dependent
contingents
on
are.
something else. That's what contingent means. Is how do you know the universe is dependent on something else?
The universe as a whole is a concept. The matter that makes up the universe is what you're trying to say. The things in the universe, that's what we're talking about. Those things are contingent things. If you take the totality of contingent things that we know of, that we experience, right, matter, energy, whatever you want to call it, you cannot say that totality as a concept is now necessary. It won't follow because by definition,
Well, it won't follow that it's
universe.
contingent either.
It will, because by definition, the concept of the universe, which is a group of contingent things, is by definition contingent. It is
No, it's
literally
not.
made up.
That's
it
the
is made
composition
up of
fallacy.
parts.
That's the composition.
That's not actually no. That's
Yes,
a
it is.
misunderstanding.
If I put all the red objects in some bag, does it mean the bag is red?
I understand.
Even if everything in the universe is contingent,
Let me explain.
that's a composition fallacy.
See, and you said
You have no clue what you're talking about. You're just fishing for your fucking little
I'll explain to you.
being, so you can
I'll explain to you. Yeah, I'll explain to you.
You're just not very smart.
You gave a good example of composition fallacy. I understand what composition fallacy is. What I'm telling you is that the definition of something that's contingent is that it depends on its parts. The universe, if you're calling the universe a composition of parts, then it is on itself those parts, right? That's what makes it contingent.
Universe. Like again,
Whatever those things are that you're talking about, including the atoms, at least there's atoms in there. So that's not another thing. Universe is not now another being, another thing. Right? It's just something made up. We're giving a word to something that's coming out of it.
Wisdom checkpoint now, Brother CM. You should be asking this line of questions. Okay, you ask Soul Muslim, you ask like this. Hey, why the understanding of me, understanding fractal, somebody say is the thumbprint of God? That means you are bridging between CM and Brother Rashad. When you say, why this guy, the physics person, say, my fractal understanding is the thumbprint of God. Why so? Why so? Then you can get it. Wisdom checkpoint.
But so once we've taken away all the things that it can't be, we still have to arrive at what is necessary.
So,
you're not going to say
Rashad, would you agree with me that they smuggle in these same type of like presuppositions? They accuse us of the God of the Gaps nonsense. Don't they do this themselves and just like brute force like metaphysics for an example because they have absolutely no explanatory power for it? Dude, if you do this again, Draco, I'm gonna fucking kick you, dude. Can you stop fucking talking? Because you're interrupting me and being an asshole to me. Thank you. So the fundamental thing of their worldview would be like evolution, science, great epistemic justifications of theories there. But the problem becomes, how do you justify over a very long period of time emerges the universe, the people, the beings, the creatures within it, consciousness, all of these things. It takes a really long time. That's what I was backing up to, is the metaphysics itself and the justification for over a very long period of time. And this is where the problematic thing comes in. This is where I say Christianity or theism, for an example, Islam can have some explanatory power there, whereas they don't have any explanatory power for these things. And they use this in the dialectic, they use it in the language, but they have no, it's strange because it mimics the theist's dialogue and language. And then when you get into the justification for it, there is no justification for it. It's self-asserting. The same thing that they're accusing us of doing, just self-asserting God and then claiming it's God of the Gaps. Again, I would say, okay, let's just say you're right. I'll just grant you your argument, God not real. Then can you explain these things? Can you explain the metaphysics in this? They have no explanatory power for the metaphysics in this situation whatsoever. What are your thoughts on that, Rashad?
Yeah, for me, I find that either they stop at I don't know, or they stop at brute fact, right? Without, it's just arbitrary, or they stop at like claiming something else as the necessary being and trying to build that concept, which we're going to hear a lot of, you know? The thing that can't be escaped, that we don't have to start from the concept of God. We have, if we're just working purely from rational thought, that term doesn't have a definition yet, right? We can't say scripture. And so you have to start from there. The question is what it's always was, and that it has the ability to ground reality, and that it has like some concept, not knowledge is difficult, but some concept of what it's grounding, right?
Isn't that spooky?
I'll say one more thing just quickly, just because I think the will is the really important one. And there's an argument, Azali actually puts this forward about the concept of will, which is it compelled or not compelled? It's a very interesting approach. When you establish these, you pretty much end up at God, right? There's nothing else that can be described in that way. There's nothing else that fulfills those points. So that's why we build constantly from the ground up. We don't just stop at, oh, we don't know, or some arbitrary explanation about, you know, how things are just because we want to stop at that arbitrary point.
Okay, so I just want to back up a little bit on some of the Muslim just said right there. Rashad. You back up a little bit. The same language, if you notice there, that he's using is the same language we would use to explain God. And they use the same exact dialogue, the same exact language, and say it's not God, it's something else. So what else would that something be if not God? And that's the question I'm asking is what's going on with the teleological semantics that we're using here? Because when we talk to each other, we're trying to use something meaningful, and there's some sort of kind of mimicry going on the basis of language here, where we can't even explain anything without actually using this language themselves to speak about something meaningfully. What are your thoughts on that, Richard?
It was put forth by say God.
Asking Rashad.
Yes, but the Muslim take it up on that. Rab is equal to God. That means above that is Ilah, Allah. Nobody is able to do that. Upstreamize with the military point. Rab, Ilah, Allah. You feel?
Did you hear me, Rashad?
I did, yeah. Sorry, just coming off mute there. So I think if you expand just a little bit, like what usually happens is when you start from that position of what's necessary logically, and you work up, you end up with something that could only be described that way. The alternative, what happens mostly is that the atheist will affirm the necessary thing, but not want to affirm that it's God, right? Not want to follow the logical entailments from it. And then they'll claim that it's something else. But I missed some of the part that you mentioned about like the teleological sort of semantic problem.
So the point is that they have to use metaphysical language in their dialogue to describe these things. These purely conceptual things that they just grant themselves, and it mimics the same metaphysics, right? The language we're using to describe something meaningful here. You know, the purpose and meaning behind the language in itself. And they end up mimicking the same exact language. And it's strange to me because I'm like, okay, so they understand what I'm saying. They understand what metaphysics are. They're using metaphysics to convey some kind of principle or concept to me. And when I get into this line of questioning of, okay, do you realize you're kind of using, like, without using this language, can you actually talk about or describe anything meaningful? It's just a strange phenomenon. I think there's some spooky dookie going on in that. You know, it's a little spooky.
Not all atheists deny philosophy or metaphysics, much like CM or Abe. Okay, these are New Age atheists. Most atheists actually. Most
when do I
atheists.
use the word metaphysics?
1 second. Yeah,
When do I use the word
Hold on, you're not the only atheist. Hold on. However, yeah, I'm an atheist right now. However, my fellow atheist Carlos, for example, does indulge in philosophy and metaphysics. And yes, Muslim is right. Rashad is right. He does ground necessary existence, but he comes to there, and so does Nilotpal, by the way. And when they stop there, yeah, thank you. When they stop there, the whole paradigm shifts. So if my argument from the theist argument is, how can I give you $5 when I don't have $5 in my pocket, for example?
I don't know.
Right? How can there be consciousness?
How do you give it
when
$5?
the source or the grounding of consciousness is not grounding itself? If God is not pure consciousness itself, he's going to use an argument for emergence. He's going to say you are calling it conscious. However, there's much like emergence, hydrogen and oxygen are dry, are atomic. They give rise through emergence to wetness. Okay, so this necessary existence does not have to be conscious. It can just be an unconscious something, some existence that doesn't know.
So how do you justify over a very long period of time, we have a slow emergence into consciousness and evolution, right? Keyword being over a very long period of time. That is a metaphysic. We agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's into your presupposition, right? You presuppose that time is fucking real to begin with zero justification for it. It's baked into it as a presupposition. You presuppose this in order to have that view that it's even true to begin with. That over a very long period of time, X thing happens.
What?
Regal, if I could ask, is there a way to summarize? Is there a way to summarize your point? Because I think at the core of it, they're presupposing truth itself, right? Which they can't establish. Like that's why I think when you take that position of as a utility, then all you're saying is just like it's provisionally the case, right? Truth with a lowercase t. But if you're going to try to establish what reality is and hold to truth as a capital T, then you want to have some grounding for that. Maybe
truth can be observed, truth can be falsified, truth is science. Like, reality is truth, but the thing is we can't achieve it. You, on the other hand, you're delusional theists, make claims about it, which you cannot even establish.
So the delusion, is it coming from the claims that this atheist opposes this thing? Who are these people who are opposing all these things?
You're talking about New Age.
What are they?
No, they're just projecting.
What are these people? What are these atheists?
They're giving us atheists taken subcategories and categories.
The argument is that both sides do this. I don't know why Regal's
On the mother of fractal base.
The point is that you have to presuppose over a very long period of time, and then you do experimentation or, inject some sort of philosophy as some sort of presupposition that's already baked into your argument. The whole point of tag is to go something completely prior to all of this and say, well, what's the justification for this epistemically?
Upstreamize the fractal. There is a justification. Upstreamize the fractal. You feel?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes, I. Thank you, brother Honey Major.
I feel, and how I feel.
LCM.
Don't go for second class, baby. Put your love to the test.
Are there certain things that is okay to presuppose? Let's say, existence or reality.
Yeah, you have to presuppose that
I do agree with you don't have to presuppose existence.
What are you presupposing there? I see that to me that's self-evident, not
self-evident. And God is also self-evident.
I'm sorry, are you guys denying existence?
No. I'm saying it's self-evident.
Hey, Natalie.
Hi.
How are you doing, sweetheart? You need this Uber, huh?
Yeah, if you don't mind. I need to get down there, and I really don't want to miss my flight. I know it's in the morning, but I was just wondering if you're able to do it. I did send you a couple of pictures in compensation.
Do you need the Uber now or do you need it later?
Now, preferably, my parents are a little drunk, so that they can't drive me. And we went out for my birthday dinner, and we Ubered there, and then I was like, no worries, and then they paid like $400 for my birthday dinner, and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to pay, like, I don't want to, have them pay anything else.
Yeah.
If you could get me an Uber just to the place where I'm staying for tonight, and then I have my flight tomorrow morning.
Where are you flying to?
Chicago.
You're flying to Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Where do you live?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Where do you live in Chirac?
In Logan Square.
Oh my god. So this is why you want me to sugar baby you and get your Uber, huh?
I didn't think of it that way. I don't know why my bank shut off my card. I was going to do it myself. I was planning on it, and my bank is just like, no, fuck you. And I was like, really, today of all days? Like, when I have a flight tomorrow?
Damn. All right, well, let me get this Uber and text you right back.
Okay, thank you. Just let me know.
Okay, bye. Get this Uber quote.
I don't know, it's self-evident, there's I'm saying no one even questioned me, right? No one questioned me. They said it's self-evident. We exist, reality exists. I'm like, okay, fine. We agree there's reality existence. No more questions about this.
No, I'm saying if
Now the nature of existence. So sorry.
Existence is not a presupposition. Existence is a necessity.
Can we
Yes.
get past this? We all know we both presuppose.
Yes, we don't. So let's not question. Yes. Let's not question about existence. Sure. So let's not question about existence.
Is necessitating God.
Yes. Yeah. So if existence is necessary, then one can observe that things are contingent. These contingent things follow a chain of infinite regress of contingent sets that depend on
Pocket report spam.
You're going to hit infinite regress to avoid the policy of infinite regress.
This is so smart.
Only
necessary existence is the set of all necessary existence, right? Because it is that which grounds existence itself. Therefore, God.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
Well,
We can just assume this.
What's God?
Logic is a tool. Exactly. What's that?
Exactly.
There's baggage there. There's baggage there. Like, again,
You guys are jumping ahead unnecessarily. You're jumping ahead unnecessarily. So if Firdaus, were you saying that existence is necessary? What do you mean?
I wasn't saying.
Because then you won't know where you're going from there. So
Yes. I was just trying to reach a consensus where everyone agrees is necessary.
Okay, and what are you describing by existence?
Whatever exists.
Okay, so whatever exists is necessary. Are you necessary?
Am I necessary? No, I'm a contingent being. But technically, I am necessary because I'm here. So I'm here. So I wasn't necessary.
So that's the wrong understanding. That's the wrong understanding of necessary.
Yeah, you're necessary by virtue of being dependent.
Dude,
Yes.
Nargis, do you have your leash? Because I would love to have this guy like more muzzled.
Explain that one.
Dude, Rashawn's awesome, bro.
Do you want to explain that one, Nargis? Because I think you're missing the concept of necessary.
Yeah, necessary. Yeah, you're missing the concept of necessary.
So are we going to do necessary beings and contingent beings? The necessary and
It's
contingent.
necessary by virtue of being dependent upon the necessary,
Yes.
right? Not in and of itself.
I sometimes think everything else is contingent on me, but that's a separate thing. But yeah.
That's a personal issue. So now what is necessary then? It's not you, right? Is it the earth, the sun? What in reality are you saying?
What is necessary? So what is necessary is a set of all contingent things.
Okay, that's what somebody said before. By definition, it's not necessary.
Are you sure?
Upon another.
Upon parts.
Okay, so the question is,
Contingent also.
You keep this away. I already disproved. Like Rashad is not getting any points. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
This is necessary.
yes.
So for those, again, the set of all fundamentals by definition is not necessary.
I disagree with that. I think a set of containing
They
a
made
set.
up of things that are contingent. So
They depend on the
makes it
top.
contingent.
Yes.
And it's not, and by just to be clear also, that set also is not a thing, right? You're just abstracting a concept. If I give you the example for those. If I have two contingent things, okay, contingent thing A and contingent thing B. If I have those two things and I call the both of those together C, is C contingent or necessary?
Okay, let me make one statement. Sure.
Definitionally, it's right.
Okay, so my assertion was a set of all contingent things in totality can be necessary, just like existence.
Just a second though. Just answer that question.
Now,
first,
yeah.
then
Can you
we'll
repeat
see.
your question and I will answer?
So,
Yes.
Contingent thing A and
Mhm.
contingent thing B.
Yes.
That's all that there is.
Sure.
To call A and B together,
Mm-hmm.
C.
Okay.
Is C necessary or contingent?
Can be either.
How?
Hello? By definition, it's neither.
Hello?
So if
Or
you want
neither,
to say
neither.
the universe is contingent, you would have to demonstrate.
Explain what you're saying. What do you mean neither? It's either one or the other. It's a disjunct. There's no neither.
I said by definition, it's neither. You'd have
That
to
doesn't
show
even make any
one or the
sense.
other.
Saying definitionally it's neither just doesn't even make any sense.
Don't let them go, Rashad.
What do you mean it doesn't
No,
make
I
any
want
sense?
Firdaus
What-
to
what is
answer.
neither?
Firdaus understands you have to
I think
either
I
be
understand.
necessary
I
or
understand.
contingent. So C, what's your answer for C? Is it necessary or contingent?
It's a bad question. Makes no sense.
It's a lovely question.
Yeah. If you
Okay,
don't know
I have
Firdaus,
to
if you
understand
don't
the
know,
question.
you can
I'm
think
going
about it.
to Jahil answer. You want to think
Yes.
about it? You can think about it.
Yes. So C is for contingent. A is for what?
No. Sorry. Okay, I'll
Oh.
use other letters. Okay.
Sure.
There is object. I'm sorry. There's
Okay.
object A. There's object B.
Okay.
Both are contingent. Object A is contingent. Object B is contingent.
On each other or just something else or on C or?
For now, they're contingent, right? I don't need to say more yet. Okay. The point is, yeah, they're contingent. Okay. The point is, when I create something that I'm going to call D, which is just the set of A and B, is this thing that I'm now, which is not a thing in and of itself, but this set now, is this contingent or necessary?
I'm more towards the bucket of necessary.
Why?
Because I think a set of all contingent things, if it's only A and B, nothing else is there, right? This is just A and B. We're calling this, two elements within the set C, and A and B exist, and by extension, C exists. And because existence itself, as we concluded, is necessary, C therefore is necessary.
So this is okay. So you're starting with the existence is necessary.
Yes.
So because you know there's something necessary, you're trying to find what it is. But here, this is a logical contradiction, because you're saying the thing that you want to call as necessary, you want to say it's necessary. Therefore, C is contingent, but you want to say it's necessary. That's the logical contradiction.
Allah Samad.
Yeah. So no, you're positing.
So now,
illogical
Firdaus,
stance.
think about that one more time, because all you have to do then is say, oh, there's a bunch of A, B's, and C's, and all of them together are contingent.
Yes.
That doesn't mean the absolute
All right,
that
Rashad.
you
This is why
constructed
when stop it.
is
This
necessary.
Rashad, stop it. This is why when he asked you, you said object A is contingent, object B is contingent. He asked you contingent on what? Because now then you
Okay.
created this new set C, and now you're saying it's contingent on
Sure,
no.
I can answer.
So what are they contingent on?
Yeah, you could say that A is
But
contingent.
they're not contingent on the set C if you're just creating the set C.
No, set C. He's saying C is necessary, but C by definition
Yeah,
depends.
C
Hang on,
is
C by
everything.
definition. C by definition because and it's not. It's the intuition. Listen, just quickly.
Wait.
For those, the intuition.
You need to shut up, man. It depends on it as a set, maybe. Not for its existence. You didn't specify what it's contingent on, because you couldn't specify what it's contingent on. And it cannot be contingent on the set C that after you say they're contingent, you create the set C, put them in it, and say now it's contingent on the set C.
I'm not saying it's contingent on set C. You're not tracking CM. You're not tracking CM.
CM's not tracking.
You're not tracking.
CM,
That's
you're not
okay. But Firdaus got it. So Firdaus,
I'm better at set theory than everybody in this room combined.
Yes, you will hit Russell's paradox.
Because Firdaus got it. Firdaus, you got it. Which is that intuitive trying to find the necessary thing.
Yes.
But here now you know that by being that C is the necessary thing,
Yes.
you've actually fallen into a logical contradiction. Because your C is necessary while it is dependent on A and B.
You know what Rashad and
It's not dependent on A and B. You created A and B. You created C out of A and B. Stupid, dude.
Yeah, there's one rock, there's one law. Allah and Ra conversation between brother Firdaus and Muslims talking. One talking about the Ra, one talking about Allah.
No, with respect, I like what you're saying, but this is not helping Firdaus think through this problem, okay? So when you say there's A and B, right, first of all, that's all that there is. Right? So you're trying to find what is necessary. I think there's a problem. Even the construct that I'm putting forward, like for example, if I told you Firdaus, all there is A.
Sure.
Okay, what can I say about A? Can I say that if I tell you A is contingent, right, would you accept that?
No.
Yeah, because a reality where there's only one thing and I say it's contingent, I'm automatically committing a logical contradiction, because that thing, obviously by definition, if it exists, is necessary. That's all that there is.
Yes, okay, brother Muslim. Now, wisdom checkpoint. This is very important now. Where we're talking about two contexts. One is swim down, hold on to the rope of Allah. Another one is climbing uphill. So when we have that conversation, God allowed him to climb uphill because he doesn't know how to hold on to the rope of Allah, or maybe Allah is not reaching him. That's why when we don't hold on to the rope of Allah, the other one is climbing up with the same intention, same with, wanted to do something about optimize. Having that, then reaching to that point. Hence, God allowed that error for oneself, but doesn't mean it's a mistake. It's a mistake. That's the hikmah mistake. If
so the refutation to Rashad's argument, E.K. Avicina's argument, is the Russell's paradox, right? However, which I grant CM, by the way, which is what he's trying to say. However, one could argue that Russell's paradox is merely a mathematical paradox. This would not apply to, say, like philosophical discussions or metaphysical like truths. So this is how you can like slime your way out of the Russell's paradox.
Now I'm going to pick up Nargis.
Yeah, give me an explanation here where we're breaking the rules of the very thing that we're trying to posit. Because if you can't do that, then I can just fucking reject that.
Nargis, your
see, this is a rational paradox, right? And it's a deductive paradox.
Hang on. The paradox is precisely. I'm just to show the practical aspect of things. Paradox. Yeah? Let's say we a person to ask you, so can you trust doctor? No, until very years, after 5 years, I try 5 out of 7. That's what is paradox, being pragmatic in that sense. So what Nargis is pointing at is that how it is meaningful to me oneself, that paradox. I'm not talking about that random paradox. She's talking about a very precise paradox. Yes.
We're making an objective claim here. Yeah. So Rigo, I mean, Russell's paradox has had the reputation for being like reductionist. And particularly like pertaining to mathematics and set theory within math. But if you want to extend that out, like to a God argument, then it does fail in some respects, right? They want to say like the set of all of these contingents needs like a master set, okay, that cannot contain itself within it, which is Russell's paradox.
My understanding of the paradox or the fallacy here is that you're positing some sort of inference rule. And you're telling everybody, well, these are the rules of the dialogue here. And then later on in the dialogue, you break your own inference rule. So I would like to be shown where the inference rule is being broken.
You see, now.
Those inferences are not random. They are self-evident. Right? Unless you're saying like no contingent things exist. Unless you're saying existence doesn't, I have doubts in existence itself. It's starting off with the premise that something exists. And no freaking atheist can deny that.
You see, there are two big gaps between that they call it paradox, mental paradox. Another one is wisdom paradox. That's why in wisdom paradox, God allowed you to experience that wisdom paradox. So anybody that call it the root paradox must be, the soul paradox must be, that in itself, God, you have to earn from God, give me that power. So until God wants to shake hands with you wisdomly, therefore that paradox is beyond what Rega is talking about. The mental paradox doesn't mean anything. That's why when I say, can you run something yes and no, can you trust doctor? I can say practically it works because God allowed me to understand it works for everybody in the world. You ask any doctors in the world or any patient in the world, they say I can only trust 3 out of 7. That means it's not yes, not no, but there's something over time it becomes yes. I trust only 3 out of 7. That's what it means. And once we get into that wisdom paradox, it becomes very precise of your unique thumbprint. Got into that office. Hey, what's the new password? I don't have that password. Get hold of that. God, please give me the 13-digit code. There is God printer and key in your user password. Oh my gosh, I don't have that. You know why? Because God had not granted you that wisdom paradox. Wisdom you should find. And
why did CM give soul fractal? I think this.
Yes, this is okay.
I didn't.
Share the experience.
I have no idea how wisdom paradox.
All right, now, Brother Firdaus, remember, okay.
Firdaus, if you follow now with the logical contradictions.
No, are you asking about the other one, like A, B, and C, or like?
Yeah.
No. So my initial statement hence I made, which was, I think a set of all contingent things in totality can be necessary, right? And that is how I see existence as. It has bunch of contingent things.
How can it be necessary?
Because existence is sum total of all reality or physicality or whatever, which we agreed is necessary.
It's not necessary in and of it. It's necessary because there's a necessary being.
Are we step back now that existence?
I already explained to you why
existence is not necessary.
That's Firdaus. Originally, you said that it doesn't make sense. That's why I asked you, what do you mean by existence? Then you started to explain. You said yourself, and I said
set of all things.
Necessary. You said no.
Set of all things.
Set of all things is the set of all things. You're calling it existence.
Like me, you, none of us are necessary, but all together we are all together.
When me and you get together, we become necessary.
Yes, exactly.
What is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that?
That is what existence is.
That's what we're trying to evaluate. What is necessary? You can't just start and beg the question. You can't just say, I'm saying existence is necessary, therefore, whatever I say.
Oh, I wasn't saying existence was necessary. I was going to presuppose. But everyone said it's
It's necessary not in and of itself. It's because we were getting to the necessary existence. In that sense.
But Nargis, you and Rashad are not doing the same thing, therefore God, you're not doing the same thing.
I think what he's saying.
We are positing the same argument. Rashad and I are
we saying two contingent things must necessarily.
Unless you want to deny contingency, unless you want to deny.
By definition, Draco. By definition, not because of the fallacy of composition. No, not because of the no, it's not the fallacy of composition. The actual definition.
To be fair, to make the conversation
depends on A and B.
Well, Rashid, right?
Rashad.
Is it Rashad? I'm sorry. I apologize.
The Rashad.
So this becomes interesting, and I'm not really particularly good with this or well read with it. Is now we can start going into like the modal ontological arguments and say, well, in a possible necessary world, right? Start arguing from there, and then you could see from there that not even fucking necessary as A and B. Now, the reason why I'm going this route, and like I said, it's I'm open to people who are more familiar with this whole Kurt Odell the Kurt Godel modal ontological argument stuff, and then we can cycle back into the pre-sup stuff if you want. But I'm always interested in learning. Like I said, I don't know if you're proficient in this, Rashad. I am not. Because personally, usually when people use...
You are regal, stop. You're very good.
Well, no, because I actually kind of reject the premise that how can you establish some other possible world where this is the only one that we can know
With
about?
this argument, absolutely. I don't like
That's kind of why I really don't engage with it. But the dialogue is fascinating, and there's more dynamic to it than just something like this, because there's a lot going on with the modal logical argument line of argumentation.
The modal is just to help you express the idea that, hey, like if you say a triangle is red or blue, right? You're saying there could be a world in which a triangle is red and a world where a triangle is blue. It's just showing the distinction of what is contingent and what is not, right? Like you said, there could be a world that you don't exist. But what's illogical is to say that there's a world where there's no necessary thing, right? So that's really just to help someone evaluate that concept. But at its core, everyone affirms the necessary thing. We're just discussing what it is. And once you get past what it's not, then you can arrive at what are the things that I can actually know about this thing. And of course, there's a few conclusions from there, but it stops at a certain point. Like I'm not going to say God at that point, but there are clear logical entailments from it. But so far, we're still stuck on using different explanations of the universe being necessary, and that's just it falls apart. Like you can't make progress with that.
Well, I'm just, like I said, I'm not really proficient or well experienced in this line of dialogue, or even in the philosophy itself. I'm not really well read up on it, so I don't know if you guys want to go down into that kind of line of discussion, or stay where we're at.
Yeah, you will hit the problem of evil. You will hit the pre-Kant agency. Pre-Kant agency. So you're going to hit one second. You're going to definitely hit the problem of evil. Okay, outside an Asterian model. You're also going to have to talk like posit agency, will, for example, right? That is going to be like you have to somehow put that into the nature of God. I don't know how you're going to hold to nature and agency. Like these are all problems. That's why I never go to that argument of like multiple possible worlds. And then you're going to hit the problem of if God is perfect, okay, then it would necessarily be so that this is the only world we know of. Therefore, this is the only perfect world.
In our case, least we can do is correct the title actually. So when you say atheist versus objective truth, the title itself is very wrong. So all the people here, the least that you can do is correct this title.
What do you want it to be?
How to actualize oneself.
The point I'm trying to make is like I'm not here to like bullshit people. Like this is not something like I know intimately about.
Title is a big.
It's a good mental. All right, whatever. Fuck it.
Okay, no, title.
Let's do it.
The title should be something like this. How can I make it my understanding more concentrated? But I don't know what is the word is better, right? Make it more concentrated.
We will go ahead. Actually, I think
what I'm trying to say is like the way Rashad premised it here, right? Like I agree with them, but that's my surface level understanding of it. I understand it to be used in the same way. I mean, that's kind of the demonstration and the answer to this guy's question. There could be a possible necessary world outside of this one where you don't exist, blah, 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 blah. That's just my simple surface level understanding of it. I haven't even breached the philosophy myself. I'm just saying, like, if you guys want to have a more dynamic conversation, and if anybody in here knows more about it, especially because I don't really know much on it, to be honest. I'm not really well read on it, but
to be honest, Rigo, I'm not also, I don't think the literature necessarily makes you more, and that's why all I was showing here was that we start from a traditional grounding, right? There is a fundamental reality, and that's actually affirmed by everyone, right? There's no way to deny it, right? To deny it is to hold to a logical contradiction.
Right.
The question just becomes the fundamental reality.
To deny that is to just fall into logical contradictions. We just end up talking past each other because we end up going like too many, like in this case, and with respect to Firdaus and CM, they are proposing logical contradictions as their grounding to reality by something that is by definition contingent necessary. So that person has no basis for explaining anything else after that.
Seriously, people don't listen. You're just like waiting for your turn to speak. Not and Nargis is just a bobblehead agreeing with anything that sounds nice. Freaking, this is pointless to me.
That's the objective truth.
Well, listen, I was trying to be the atheist.
It's a robust argument. It's a robust argument with three premises and a conclusion. Instead of refuting
Draco, repeat after me.
I already refuted.
No, Rashad,
Nobody's fucking listening.
Instead of refuting this, yes, I told you. Russell's paradox is the refutation to this position.
I tried to help you, but I mean, again, I do think what Rashad just
Fine,
said.
fine, we'll
is
be
the same
atheists.
argument that I tried to
Draco,
give
let's
to
be
him.
atheists.
Well, I tried. Remember the argument that Rashad just gave to him? I tried to give to him the other day, and he pretty much said the same thing to me.
Okay, fine. Theist, you can start, and Draco and I hold to atheism still.
Well, you already abandoned it.
We don't need
Stay
the
off.
office.
Oh, no, now they don't. Now Stan doesn't want me because
Rashad came in here and
he's
started
ex.
saying
He's
things.
ex.
All right, I'm going back to theism again.
Fine, fine. I'll be the
Supposed
atheist.
to give the atheist a bone, bro. You failed.
Fine, fine. I'm going back
This
to
is why
atheism.
this is why Draco people say there is no such thing as atheism. They're just misinformed, theists. They're just people applying their understanding of God to the wrong concept. They think God is. They think the reality is the universe. They think they are the ultimate universe. Like it's an ego trip.
It's also a reputation to the god of structure, the fantastical, magical god of miracles, basically.
Honestly,
Okay, now
guys,
listen
like,
to the point. Remember just now,
There is no God without king, guys.
No.
Remember that
King is.
I want to recap the question just
King,
now.
king.
There was a question Firdaus asking, how so do you
God is the out.
Okay, that question is very interesting. How do I get hold from CM? Yeah? That my own personal experience. One time back, CM is talking about fractal. Prior to that, Brother Logical is talking about golden ratio. Okay, that was probably a year prior. And then you heard about this. Water is alive and respond to human emotion. Have anybody known about it? With the super high depth, what is the mother of fractal? Is the thumbprint of God. Let's say, assuming something higher being. Therefore, it gives that understanding. That means water in itself, in that Dr. Emoto, not me saying, even exhibition all around the world. And that in itself is already saying, hey, why this water can listen? Water doesn't have that nose, ears, and how can no lung, and that's what we are talking about, the element of water. So hence, when the fractal come about, then you can
Element rape.
that. Yeah. So now,
Dr. Ikimoto, he says, I love you to the first glass of water. Then he says, I hate you to the second glass of water for 1 week. And the third glass of water, he completely ignores. Now, under a microscope, you see fine crystalline snowflake formations in the first cup of water. In the second cup of water, you see like sluggish, ugly looking, like phlegm-like stuff. In the third one, you see ghastly, horrific sort of formations, so chaotic. So this is Dr. Ikimoto's message to the world.
Yes.
Do not ignore your children. Do not ignore them. Don't be passive, right? Be involved. Even hate is better.
Blah 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 blah. Dr. Masuro Imoto, blah 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 blah. He did his undergrad from Yokohama University in International Relations. And then he got a doctorate of alternative medicine. Made a bunch of pseudoscientific claims with no validity. But what happens is if you're crying underwater, no one would know.
His work is like Quran, basically.
Oh, see this.
Boom. Just follow it blindly,
Boom, boom. Like Bible also, no? Same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good. Okay, let's dance on that one. You are claiming something that, oh, you put assumptions because of that, therefore that. Okay, now let's look at this. When you yourself not knowing how deep is during a time when everybody are talking about they're not experiencing so much real, but once you upon you wake up, that means how can that be real? There must be a wisdom, dramatic understanding why so real for everybody when they're dreaming. Oh, I thought that was. Oh, then I suddenly wake up. Why is that so? That so wow in that sense, so intense. There must be something, but anybody not able to explain. But me, so this soul can explain. Why? Because myself.
You really can't explain.
No, I can experience it. That's why I'm saying the wow, the one that you're talking about, Mikhail. When you say the wow, that is beyond. Why? Because the wow that you're experiencing, just now you vibe with the other person, that experience, that wowness of you is beyond English words. That is what you're experiencing.
Beyond what?
Beyond words.
Yes.
What was the word to use? I can't hear it.
English language. Okay, now, you see, English language is okay, English language is a zikir. Why? Because my teacher, you say we are arrogantly using English language because we say my. Actually, teacher is above me. I should say guru, me, teacher, me, in that order. God will be very pissed off wisdomly when we are arrogantly say, hey, who are these people? These are my teacher. Wow, why are you so saying my teacher? That kind of way. English do not do justice in that context. So when we do opposite of zikir, we cannot experience that. So this is where it becomes very interesting to see this experience where good is talking about something like, hey, you don't know. Dream will be a good conversation we can go forward with solution.
But why do dreams feel so real? So
okay, now this is my hypothesis. You know that even in Isa Ibn Maryam saying something about death, God's breath, the ruh into the fetus of mother's womb of Maryam. Okay, now look at that. That means there's a vessel. We call it, let's say for now, a car and a driver. So God breathed the driver into the car. Okay, that is the analogy first. So now, when you sleep, in a way, you are not fully permanently death, but temporarily death. Meaning, you are leaving out the car, but you still have the car key engine on. Therefore, but you get out from the car. And you see the bigger picture because you get out from the car. Yet, the engine of the vehicle is still on. That's why you are sleeping, still breathing. That we call it temporary death. I think in Islam, we are talking about that as likewise. And then the God's breath, the soul into the fetus of mother's womb. So now that is another higher concentration for understanding. Doesn't mean that is final. God will give you what? You know, the Surah Luqman say something, 31, ayat 27, said, if even an ocean of ink, still we cannot say the marvels of when a person saying God, that is only Rabb. God, Rabb equal to God. Rabb ila Allah. Allah is much, much more. That's what people are not able to vibe. Especially the so-called the Christian, they are talking about God. English would say God. God is just merely to that ceiling of Rabb. Not yet even Ilah and Allah. Imagine that. So that's why we are talking about something beyond that. And that's Surah Luqman. Why Luqman? Luqman is nobody. Mr. Luqman is nobody. He's not a prophet. He's not a commoner. Where God said, hey, you know what? I tell you this. The oceans, 7 oceans, add on to it. The pen, the forest, imagine the pen of the forest is like a pen. And then you write it. Still you cannot finish. All the ink is being utilized, still cannot be finished. The power of Allah. So that's why the mutlaq is beyond what people are thinking of. Because when we look at the CEO oneself, the manager of oneself, and the officer oneself, we are not even unleash our power. Even I know that unleash my power, but God say, hey, I don't want to shake hands with you. The seer, S-I-R-R, will not even connect. That means God said, this is secret that I kept just for you, Musa. Just for you, Isa. Something along that. Wisdom shepherd.
Yeah, but God. So I don't know.
Okay, now
this
good.
God didn't study in school, I think.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Good. Okay, now we can have
this. Can everybody sit fine before they start that point and end that point? Wisdom check.
Now, this is very interesting. God is talking about giving some command just by impulse. What he says something, therefore.
Just like you.
Therefore.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Now,
Hey, stop and say wisdom checkpoint. Good friend. Hello, Jahil.
Okay, wisdom checkpoint. Wisdom checkpoint. Anybody here, what's a fish of wisdom that anybody on your fishing rod, maybe on my fishing rod, is meant the fish is for you. You just have wisdom checkpoint. Do it, yeah? Anytime, yeah? But the good, especially you can just wisdom checkpoint. Hey, so there's a fishing rod, a fish on your fishing rod, that's meant for me. Then expand on that one. Or you just strongman or steelman, doesn't matter. All right, so feel this. Okay, good. When you are writing something that you're talking about, I can understand from this. Let's start because you just came into the room. Electric bulbs that you have on your house ceiling, and then the loudspeaker, both are physically seen. But do you think that is reality? Do you think the reality what? Okay, now let's look at your hand. When we look at our hand, CM would say, hey, that is the vibration of atom. That is reality, right? So people who see and understand say reality is vibration of atoms. But what we are saying is just a 5 fingers. Why can 5 fingers be not reality, but what else? More beyond that, super microscope.
And I don't know if any of you can feel the effects of that, but I certainly can all the time.
Everyone has a theory. I'd like to offer a theory. This has been interesting to listen to. So here's my theory.
In the Christ, but again, after the belief, in the rest of our life, we still have to do good words.
Yeah, agreed. That's what I've been saying. Agreed.
No, that's what I tried to say from the beginning, and you kept saying, no.
I said I agree. However, those good works don't contribute to our salvation. Okay?
Well, why wouldn't they if it's required of you?
Okay. Because the reason
it's required of you to do the good work.
Okay, dude, let me know when you're done talking. Okay, so I can answer you.
I see you don't know how to engage, like bounce back and forth. You like to just preach.
I can do it. I can interrupt you just as much.
Yeah.
I can do the same thing. Are you kidding? I grew up having to fight people, and I'm a scrapper even at my age. I've taken years of martial arts. I can get in your face in real life and we can talk. It's not going to accomplish anything. What real dialogue is you hear, you listen, you respond. And so if you want to interrupt, then I can interrupt you and get nowhere. I'm just simply saying what you're doing is you're interrupting me. You're not understanding what I'm telling you. I'm trying to inform you. I'm trying to inform you. Yes. There's no problem.
Hour alone. You can talk.
No, that's not alone. Now you're not representing the truth. Now you're just going off the rails. You're coming undone.
I'm trying to engage.
Which is a good song, like Corn. No, you're not. What church do you go to?
Well, it's
You're Corn. What church? What church do you go to?
Matt.
Yes, it does.
Well, it doesn't. My salvation doesn't matter what church I go to, preacher.
I want to know what church is brainwashing you.
Oh, so now you're projecting, Mr. Preacher. Is that your job, preacher? To just project on
my job is to correct. My job is to teach them.
You're the preacher. I have
whatever, guy. Let's move on to somebody else.
Go, bro. Back up, bro. You're not the only one called the priest.
I have all this positive little voice.
So Matt, I got a question for you. There's been one question going around the circles the last little while. It's been giving Christians a bit of a tizzy. In what meaningful way does God oppose evil?
Meaningful way? Yeah. See, the problem is, what do they mean by meaningful? Because we have logic, moral meaning. We can teleological meaning.
To stop it.
Of course he does. He steps in all the time and stops evil. And lots of times he doesn't. We just don't know all the times he does something where he stops them. Behind the scenes are demonic forces at work. His angelic realm is working to bring about his will, permitting some things and not permitting others. Of course, you know that he's allowing evil is by the existence of Democrats.
for example, or women who want to kill their babies. You know?
Wow.
Oh, absolutely, that's right.
But then shouldn't his ultimate goal to be like of an ultimate good-natured creation?
Okay, we are created for his glory, Isaiah 43:7. Now Jesus says the greatest act of love is laying your life down for your friend, John 15:13. In the Trinitarian communion, God is eternally loving in the Trinitarian communion. But there is no sacrifice possible because there's no law breaking. So in the creation of the world, creatures broke the law. God could enter into that world in Christ and then use the evil for the redemptive work to bring people to himself. So all evil has a purpose in God's economy, because Ephesians 1:11 says he works all things after the counsel of his will. That includes evil. Okay.
So is your idea of God omnibenevolent as well?
Clear, because the question was, do you have the belief? Didn't really answer your question.
Yes, I did. Now let me ask you, omnibenevolent mean?
All good, perfectly good.
Okay, so God is all good. How do you know what goodness is?
Well, under your view, is that which conforms to the nature of God.
Dude, he was talking, giving a good answer. Someone over talks, can't hear. So what's good?
Well, under your view, it's that which conforms to the nature of God.
That's what holiness is, and goodness would conform with that as well. So now we have a tautology. So goodness is what conforms to the mind of God, or the will of God, or the nature of God, and therefore what conforms with the nature of God is good. The only way to know God is if is if God reveals it. So to say he's not omni-just, doesn't mean he's not omni-holy. What is it meant by the phrase, he's omnibenevolent? Does it mean there's nothing else in him because he's all one thing? You see?
I mean, it's your view. You were being asked that. You're not someone else.
Right.
You didn't say that. You
Can I finish talking? Can I finish talking, or we do an interruption thing? I'll interrupt you if you want. Want to do it that way? I can interrupt.
Gotta be so emotional.
Take this guy down, dude.
Yeah, jeez.
They only act if it's like. So
look, when people say to me, "Is God all loving?" I usually respond with a question. If you say he's all loving, does it mean he's not all justice? They're not used to thinking that like that. Because to say he's all of one thing would be to misrepresent what God is. He's not all loving. He's not all justice. He is loving. He is just. He is holy. He is merciful. They are all part of what he is. So to say he's all of one particular thing is problematic. Because if you judge God by one part, it's called the fallacy of composition. So the car engine is blue, therefore the entire car is blue. That's not true. So God is all good, therefore there's nothing in him that isn't good. Well, then is justice good? Is mercy good? Well, kind of. Does God get angry? Is that good? Yeah, well, no. Then they have problems logistically. That's why I'm trying to help you out, okay?
But wait, God doesn't have parts like a car.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Seriously?
So if the engine is blue, then the whole car must be blue because God has no parts.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Matt, can you stop the insults, please?
How is it to say the monkey's swinging from the wrong tree?
Yeah, you obviously were insinuating that he's not very intelligent, yeah.
It's actually an insult to himself. I mean, he just.
What does it mean?
Only monkey I know.
Yeah, you're saying like too dumb to even like shit in the right box.
Really? Who says that? I don't know what I mean by it. So now you're imposing your value on me. You think so? You.
What's going on? You know, Kenny's like, my dad's a lawyer. And it's like, oh my God, you know, and it's like, I tell you,
they said, listen, tough guy. They go, we're taking your effing bitches to county jail. Tough guy. You can handle yourself, but, you know. And then they called them the C word, you know. And they were on the desk, one was sitting down, was over there, and then I jumped up at them, and they probably wouldn't have talked to me, right? I wish I would have. And then they'd throw me back in the cell. I heard my fiance crying really hard. You know, a very innocent person was going to be my wife. And it's like, fuck, you know. And I said, I'll talk to him. And I said, listen, I go, you know, if because they knew about my apartment, one apartment, I thought, the one that they followed me from. They knew about another one I didn't know about the incidents. And so they said, if you want the girls to let go, give us sign a search warrant, you know, for, so we'll let the girls go. And they said, well, we know about your other location, you know, by Maris. And state's attorney said, we cannot let you go until you let us in there. I go, there's nothing there. I go, you know, it's just some guns and steroids. And my friend had some stuff that another guy, my right-hand guy had, it was not a major stash house. I was fixing it up nice to get married. I was buying nice furniture and stuff. It was kind of a place for us to hang out, but I was buying nice furniture, of which I never quit when I thought I was going to quit and get something to get married. And so you go, we got to take you there. So I'm like, all right, you're going to let him go? And he said, yes. So they take me in there, they strap me to this leather belt like this, you know, and then they hit those with the right shotguns, you know, like the handle and stuff. And before we walk in there, and my friend was supposed to be there waiting for us. He was going to get out that night after we did our, you know, and thank God he was late. I said, listen, I got my friend there. There's a gun on the coffee table. I go, so don't kill my friend. You know, and so they pulled my hair back and put the shotgun on the back of my head. You know, I was like 23. And I'm like this. My friend was there. I'm like, hey, it's me. I got the cops. The cops are here. I just want you to know, don't touch the gun. The cops are here. You know, so they walked me first. You know, and he wasn't there. Thank God. You know, he wasn't there. So then they take me back, and I said, let him go. And so they go, they had pictures and stuff. You know, as a matter of fact, remember I said about the 7-Eleven or whatever, me and John met, they had pictures of that. You know, they had pictures of that. They had tons of pictures. They were following me for a while, and which is ironic. It's just they're bang Evergreen Park. You know, undercover cops. That's where I stand. It wasn't all the other ones that went on. They said they were all following me. They're all like, I was on their radar, right? And but a lot, they don't work together. A lot of them, right? They wanted to get credit, like sales credit for a job, or you know. So, so they said that we know about the guys that you're working for. You know, you got to go set them up today. If you do that, we'll let them go. I go, you've been telling me that every time. You guys lied to me. He goes, you do that, we're gonna let them go. And I said, okay. I said, but I can't go today because you just got that half a kilo. I go, I just bought it this morning. So I'm lying to them like they lied to me. I said, I had other stash houses. They didn't know it. There was no more stash houses they knew of because they would have forced me to go through each one. So I was like, thank God, you know. And I guess the one in Maris is right by Evergreen, so that's probably why they, you know, they say the other one in Chicago and, you know, that were further separated. And I said, I promise. I go, you'll scare them off. You'll ruin everything if you go today. You kind of give me a week so they think I'm selling it for the week. You know, they went in, they came back, they went in, and they said, okay, well, you know how we're going to do this? I said, go fuck yourself. Like I did in the beginning. Well, you know, the one fucking security guard, he's like a security guard. You cooperated, you're fucked. You know, so they did put it in the paper after I got found out, you know. And one of the brothers says, you fucking idiot, no, is worth it. You're effing stupid. You shouldn't have done it. I said, listen, and they knew, sure. I go, it's my fault. I fucked up. I signed myself into jail. I go, it's my responsibility to get her out of this. I go, you're not any more trouble than you were because they already know about us. They got pictures and stuff. And they, you know, they've been on radars forever. You know what I mean? It's like, so I go, I'm not setting you up. I'm here right now. I'm telling you, they want me to set you up. So I'm not setting you up, you know? And so they were pissed at me. But then, like, through surrogacy, so I had so much money on the street, I lost shit. At that point in time, I had a half a kilo at a different location they didn't know about. This is where John Campus comes in. He was my customer. And John would say this when we did it on the show. I had half a kilo got poured out. Because the person's house I kept, it was so fucking scared. And by the time John got in touch with them, there was only half a kilo left. It was funny. Now you just pour it down the toilet. He goes, thank God it was taking a while to put it down there. And John went, and he's, he reminded me this morning how he picked it up. He had a hoodie on. He went in there and he got the half a kilo, and I ended up giving it to him less than what I paid for it at the time. And then he started picking up a lot of my customers, and I was, I was a marked man because of what happened, right? And that helped launch John into, what we know him now in his book, into growing from one level to the next level.
So he kind of started to take over, right?
Yeah, he grew, because I think he started going directly to those other guys, and he had, he got it from me, but I got it from the other guys. I think he started going directly to them, and he might have got some other sort of kind of expanded, just like I did later. We'll talk about that. So,
like insurance or anything else, you just get your book of business, right?
Trying to mitigate your risk, spread it across. You know what I mean? So that's how. John, came into play in his Netflix thing that's coming out now, and how he really grew from there and went into the things that he did. And I went to court for a couple years. They wanted to give me 15 years in prison because they were mad at me. They would harass my friends. They would wait down my block. They were trying to intimidate me. The one guy that would stay at that one Every Park place, I went to his house, harassed him, said Newsom's going to blame you for this being yours. This guy was a big bodybuilder, huge bodybuilder. He's more contest, and I let him use it to go screw broads. And because I wanted the owners of the place to see someone going in there. Oh my God, use it whatever you want. But the guy wasn't involved, and I remember him crying and stuff to me. Worried. I'm thinking he's going to go and cooperate on them because they're scaring him. Then I'm going to cooperate on him and blame that it's all his stuff.
So it got caught, and then there's a time period in between getting caught and going to court and getting sentenced, right? So they're letting you free. Did you have any kind of ankle bracelet or anything like that?
No, this is back in the day. My bond was, so I was arrested on a Friday. I was let out on a Monday, and I had an attorney named George Murtaugh, who was a big shot attorney. He worked on the spec trial as a prosecutor, and I got that attorney from a federal judge who was friends of my mother's. His wife was my tutor. He was the top judge of the Northern District of Illinois. And coincidentally, in the day, he was the judge that sentenced John Kappas to prison.
Interesting.
And his wife was my tutor, and he personally got me my attorney for my mom. They were friends from high school. And he is also Greek like John. And we'll talk about it later. He sentenced John to 45 years. First time in trouble ever. But later got reduced to 17 years. And him and John, after his sentence was reduced, and it was reduced, I think, by someone else because the relationship grew and he couldn't have a conflict of interest. And, changed his life when he was inside.
We're leading up to you're caught in.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to jail. I'm going to trial. Going to jail. Yeah. Trial. And it's taking forever.
What are you doing in that time?
My bond was $200,000. Actually, they tried $750,000 at first on a Monday morning. Thankfully, my attorney, which was really good, said, you kept Newsom. Yeah, you got him on 4 o'clock on a Friday. Why wasn't he at Saturday bond hearing? Well, we know why. They used the girls against me too, and which helped me later. With the plea agreement actually. And what happened was. So they put me back in the lockup. I was the only white guy in the lockup, right? And we're talking about the different crimes the guys were in there for. And then it got lowered to $200,000. I called my brother, and I'm like, go to Mom's and Grandma's armoire. That was I had some cash there. I go for the attorney's business card. The attorney's business card is in Grandma's armoire. He's like, you're freaking out, man. And he goes, Mom already got you, attorney, the one I mentioned, right? I go, no, you got to get this guy's card. I want to say it on the phone. I don't know, the bond was $20,000. I had it in the grandma's armoire was in my bedroom. And I told you to spread the money out all over the place. And I'm like, just go in grandma's and get the card. He goes, you're freaking out, man. You got an attorney. I'm sitting there thinking that I wasn't going to get it, but he figured it out, But my mom was her business was starting to grow at that time. But so I'm sitting there and I get bonded out, and I'm in the sheriff's like, Newsom, you're bonded out. All the black guys got up. They're like, crap. The car's like Newsom. And I I smile like from ear to ear, like, yeah.
You made some quick friends there, didn't you?
Yeah. And he's the only one guys, that motherfucker bought us all out, man. He goes. And I just grinned and walked out. I said, yes, you guys. And so, I was out for that. They had money all over the street, right? No one's going to give it to you, right? They don't have to. They know you're in trouble. They know you're hot. You know what I mean? And then my attorney cost me at first $30,000, 1985, 24 or something like that. And he was arrogant prick too. I had words with him a couple times. And so I was out fighting this, and then I actually had, so I told the O'Toole's the truth, right? They know I didn't set them up. And then I had somebody that's very, very close to them that's friends with both of us. Yeah, I started doing some of my business on the side so I could make money. I didn't touch it, and he did it and went and met my, the guys I trusted so I could make some money and make up for the losses, right? And so I was doing that, which shows that, the fact that, they trusted me to do it through this other person, right?
So you're going to trial to go to jail, and you go back to selling to make some dough.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yes. Stupid and interesting, I guess, right? Stupid. And always played it safe. We're going through that, and doing the weekends in Cook County, or they just were going to start the boot camp. That's what was being discussed with me, right? And remember I told you I bought a Corvette after I got arrested? Like an asshole, which I didn't think. So I was at Bally's Tomfoolery working out. Not Bally's, that's right, Bally's stand. I was at Chicago Health Club, Bally's Chicago Health Club, working out on 95th Street. Everyone that was there on 95th Street by the mall. Then my younger cousin was with me. I had that Corvette that I bought for $19.99 a day, the silver one. And so we left and we're going down 95th Street. And what was this? Looks like a Monte Carlo, that fast
The Mafia
National. Yeah, right? And they came out, it was supposed to be a fast car, right? And there was a Grand National next to me by the mall. And we're going, and then I took off. I'm like my younger cousin, I'm like, oh, fuck this guy up. Then I got by Southwest Highway, 95th Street, and the car was behind me. So the Grand Nationals looked like the Monte Carlo, sort of, back in the day, right? So I took off like crazy, thinking the assholes behind me. It was a brown Monte Carlo with Grand Nationals, that black with the red rubber. And I took off, and it was undercover Oklahoma cops. It's like, I'm my dad, also they get next to me.
Perry is a Mafia cocaine dealer street runner. O'Toole currently the race cars are shit airport.
And I get out, and Patrick stays in the car, and I give him my license. And they go, Newsom, why does your name sound so familiar to them? I go, because I was by Southland. I go, I went to Oklahoma High School. He goes, what does that have to do with anything? I go, yeah, I got lots of trouble. And he goes, your name sounds really familiar. Is there any reason we should know? I said, no, maybe Patrick, get out of the car. He's my cousin's dad, good kid. And he goes, is there anything in the car that we should know about? And I'm like, no. And I saw a bunch of car squads came. I'm like, oh my God, they're setting me up. Like, you see stuff on TV, right? I'm like, holy fuck, And they searched the car, and nothing was in there. I wasn't that stupid. That stupid at the time. And they let me go. Didn't get a ticket or anything. So I go to court the next day with my big shot attorney Mertz on. I'm driving this little Toyota car. I don't even know I have to court for that. And then my fiance, I'm like, don't mention anything about. She would go, And so I pace. I'm pacing at the courthouse, and I come back, and he's sitting next to my fiance. He's, you dumb fucking asshole. The hell are you doing driving a Corvette? I look at my fiance. She wasn't quite my fiance yet. She was, but there she was. Yeah, she was. I'm sorry. And I look at her like, you dumb idiot. So he stands up. He goes, what the F's wrong with you? What the hell? You're 24, you're driving a brand new, I don't drive a brand new Corvette. The prosecutors don't drive a new Corvette. The judges, he's safe. What the hell's wrong with you? You're not getting weekends, you're not getting boot camp now. They want you to do time. You effing idiot, And I'm like, oh, And so the cops in Oklahoma called the prosecutor and told the prosecutor that they pulled me over driving a a brand new Corvette. So, I mean, I don't blame him. I would have done the same thing. So, it's very stupid. And I did it not expecting any of that stuff to happen. Just having a little fun before I went to prison. And I was honestly, they said they were going to try to give me 15 years in prison. You know, boot camp wasn't even as I started. It was a new thing that was, you know, coming up. You know, it's the process of what I was going through. So I thought, I'm fucked. I gotta have a little fun, you know. And then she wanted to get married. She begged me about wanting to get married. Wanted me to get her pregnant so it looked better for court. And I'm like, and she goes, you got it, you know. And I did. Obviously, I didn't, right? So I got sentenced to 2 concurrent 4-year sentences. I self-surrendered. And the cops were pissed. They actually had my friend come to court that day trying to scare him, the bodybuilder guy. At last minute testimony, he's crying. My dad's talking to him. They took him in a room. You know, this guy, he's going to tell it's you on the last minute. I don't know why. I mean, idiot cops. And I'm not being disrespectful to cops in general. These guys were 2 fucking idiots. And they got me, so that means I'm a bigger idiot. Yeah, he was crying. And there was a book called The Last Mafiosa. Book that was out at that time. I had it in my back pocket facing towards them, you know, like, you know, not to the judge, it was to them. I had it sticking out like high so they could see it there, you know, and then the judge asked me if I had anything I wanted to say before sentencing. I went like this. And he goes, you have nothing to say, you have to speak, you know, for the transcripts and court reporter. And I said, no, sir. So I knew, what am I going to do, beg? And, you know, I just knew it didn't matter. Right. I just knew, you know what I mean? We already did the plea and what, you know, they said. Could he go above it? Of course, but, you know, I could have gotten, I knew he wasn't going to go more, and I wasn't going to plead like a jamoke, because it wouldn't make a difference. So I go to prison. Let me talk about what happened with those guys, and I can talk about the Latin Kings and stuff later, but I want to tie this together with what happened and what she said, so it's wrapped together in the story. Before I went to prison too, I would go out and drink, and I did start partying a little bit, not like you know what I mean, I bought the crap. I was going to jail for 15 years. I was scared first time, you know, not knowing what to expect. I'm gonna die in there. I'm gonna get murdered. You know what I mean? Raped. All those things go through your head. You know. So I cheated on my fiance, and my friends, my Italian buddies, knew exactly who this person was super, super hot. And they used to joke and say I looked like a little puppy looking at her. And Mr. Cocky Dango, right? She'll fucking smoke him. And so they knew about it. And so my fiance visited me in the Lincoln Correctional and the visiting area, and she came in crying, and she goes, I heard you cheated on me. She was like, no, she goes, I heard you cheated on me. Tell me the truth. She goes, if you tell me the truth, I'll wait for you. If you lie and I find out you're lying to me, I'm not going to wait for you. So I did. I usually tell the truth, you know that, right? I lied. I'm in a jumpsuit in the prison with a bunch of scumbags, and I'm like, no, they're lying to you. They're lying. You know, they're lying to you. And then she comes back the next month crying, said, you were with so-and-so. You were at so-and-so. You lied to me, you know? And she started dating one of the brother's best friends. This very same brother that told me no C is worth it, you idiot. And then they were going around with my fiance and this other brother's girlfriend, and they became friends. I remember I said I introduced them before, and then they became tight friends. And they were seen in bars, you know, my guy out, and singing with them, with the guys that I could have put in jail, and I didn't. So then my one friend, the guy I spoke to this morning, saw him out and said, you know, as it was getting more serious, thinking, you know, they knew something was going on. And he said to the one brother, how could you do this to Terry? And he goes, it was just, this is just business. What he said.
Is that a retaliation? No, when he says it's just business, or
no, he's a jagoff. I mean, she was hot. You know, my fiance was hot. Just a fucking scumbag. You know, she's hot and got her. You know, retaliation for what? I mean, I could have set him up. I didn't. I told him the truth. The first guys they called before I even had an attorney. Right. I told them the truth. They know the truth. I could have. And then I had the other guy going through them, getting it from them, right? you know what I mean? So I already proved myself to them, right? I get you. You know what I mean? So it's a scumbag. And John Campus has similar stories about the same brother, you know, with his girlfriend at the time. And, you know, same, we talked about it this morning. I totally forgot about it.
So was it retaliation on your girl's part?
These are you. Oh, yes. First, yeah, absolutely. Which I can't blame her for.
What a play, right?
Yeah, I can't blame her for that. I mean, you know, because she's better than that. She's better than me. What, you know what I mean? What I turned into at that time, I wasn't like that when you know what I mean? And then to be with these guys in that circle,
it had to be crushing to you.
Oh, it was devastating. I was devastating. I was on work release when I found out from John that John was in the Paradise Island with you know a bunch of Chicago guys went there, and he was with this other girl that's in his book, Julie Craig, who actually married that professional football player. Coincidentally, before the other, I swear to God, the same. I'm not going to say anymore. He was married to two chicks that were driving. You know, one was like crazy. Yeah, he was down there with her, and he's like, you know, because he had the credit cards. All the black guys would get the credit cards. They had the phones. You could call them pretty much whoever. And so then I called the Paradise Hotel. I called it from I got through and I said, do you have any rooms registered under so and so and so and so, these two girls? So I know when we go, we'd always put stuff in their names. And then they said, we have 2 rooms under so and so. I said, can you connect me? And they said, which one? I said, pick one. And my fiance answered the phone, who just visited me, actually. She saw me before, when I got scheduled for work release, actually after she said, you know, we're done, but she did see me, and when I was in Joliet coming back through on work release, a distance conversation, but, I mean, she did love me, and it was, you know, I was like, you know, and maybe weeks later, she's in, you know, with these guys, you know, in the hotel, and I yelled at her, I said, you tell whoever's with you, they're fucking dead, you hear me?
And you knew who it was or no?
I wasn't 100% sure. I knew it was the one brother and somebody. I wasn't sure 100%. They were just showing up in the bars. They're all together. And then she's like, Terry, oh my God. And she hung up, which is a confirmation of she was doing something wrong.
Right. I agree.
Right. And then she got my number, Juliet, and you sit there and wait, you know. And, you know, I yelled at her again and she hung up on me. And, so I went back to my room, and this time I was rooming with the Cartel Columbia. When I first went to the work release center, the very first days, I was roomed and housed with this very ghetto African-American guy, dreadlocks, greasy, stinky, worked at a tar place, you know, could hardly understand him, nasty ghetto, right? Stinky, loud, and little room. It was awful, right? And so the prison guards, 2 of them were gang members. Prison guards on the work release center, and then they gave me a job of buffing the floors. Right, I never used those buffer machines. You guys ever use one of them? Oh yeah, it was Navy. Yeah. So like, you know, when you first time you use it, and no one really tells you how. And I was like, what the fuck? And he's yelling at me, you know, what the hell's wrong with you? Because if you do it, you gotta get a hang of it first. And he's screaming at me in front of everyone. I'm like all nervous and shit. You know, he's work release. He's still with a bunch of inmates. You know, he does some other stupid shit. He's riding me. So then he takes me into the ring. He goes, listen, man. He goes, you take care of me, and so I'll take care of you. Oh, what's a bribe? I'm thinking myself, you know. And so he knows who's in for what, who has the money, right? So the Cali Cartel guy, the Columbia, money, right? He's in a room. There's only 2 rooms that were big with a private bathroom, double bunks, you know, your own sink. I mean, nice rooms for somebody that just got out of prison. It was like a penthouse, you know. And so he was in that room. So the guard said, you take care of me, I'll take care of you. And so the next time I saw him, I gave him $50. He goes, yeah, I'll get you in that better room, man. You know, so he put me in with the Colombian. Just on luck. There was no federal conspiracy or anything at that time. Just on luck, I'm put in that room, right? Which will tie into the second part of the story. Unknown to me, I'm put in that room. I'm devastated, you know. Honestly, like we talked, I remember one time and she called me back, and I remember going back because it was the last room. I had tears coming out. I wanted no one to see me. You know what I mean? I'm devastated. I'm still shocked. It was like I wanted to sneak out. You know, when they were back from the Paradise Island. You know, and I'm like, I sit on my bunk and I'm like, he goes, what's wrong, brother? I just talked to him, man. I just met him, right? I didn't entrust him a lot, but we talk at night, you're locked up, right? And then I said, I just can't believe this is happening. He knew the whole story. I just can't believe it, and he sat next to me, he put his arm around me, he goes, brother, he goes, you want me to take care of it? He goes, my dad has people come in the country and nobody knows. I said, I appreciate the offer. I think they'll know it's me. I said, but thank you, He goes, you sure, brother? And I'm like, yes. I said, thank you. So then I became closer with him. And I wanted revenge. And there was one circumstance where I met Dante and the one brother Ralph, and John Campus was there at a Caputo's restaurant on Southwest Highway. They wanted to try after all this shit, right? After I found out it was kids, it wasn't the brother, but he was me, and they wanted me to work for them again, stuff. And I got, it didn't last long. Cause I couldn't, before when I met him and stuff, I was scared of him. As I evolved in who I became in prison and all that shit, and I was less scared of him. It's kind of like, I like to get revenge even now at my age. If someone that messes me over, I'm aware, big time. Remember my dad says you beat them so bad they don't come back. And I had my little phone book. I said, you guys want to fucking go to work, play games? I threw my little phone book out. There's a fucking phone book full of phone numbers. I go, I have these guys do anything for a fucking 8-ball. And then I walked out, and John was there. John was on my side, but he was making money and stuff, right? And then, so obviously I had work for him, but I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll get it from the Colombian. I'll get my revenge that way, right? So unknown to me, the Colombian was put in the work release center by federal agents of the DEA to set up the Cali cartel and the kilos, and then I would go back to the south side, go after their customer, right? And guys that were in that circle, right?
All right, Terry, I don't want to get too far ahead of the game. We got to talk a little bit about prison life because you've had some significant things happen here too. You don't just sit around and be a good little inmate, right? You got some wheeling and dealing, correct?
Yes, yeah. And again, I'm admitting I was scared to death going to prison because everything you see and hear about prison, right? And a lot of it's true. A lot of it's true. But keep in mind, I was a big guy. I carried myself like a big guy.
Nobody was gonna rape you, correct?
No, not even close. Not even close. Was I scared of it? Absolutely.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah, they took me from the courthouse when I had to go to my last hearing, when I had the book with the last mafioso in my pocket, right? And I had that book with me, and I had gym shoes that were Velcro very early when they came out with those Velcro without shoelaces, because the guy I worked for, told me that, they take your shoelaces. So you want to be prepared, you have these, you can fight better, And so I got picked up there, went on the bus, goes into Cook County. It's like, oh my God, just sitting razor wire and stuff. So I'm in Cook County jail. And the first thing, they got you in a holding pen, and you got to go through like a medical, and they give you a test for VD. It was very painful, by the way. Oh my God.
I just cringed in my crotch.
You guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's like, holy shit, Oh, and I had a pink Isaac shirt. I had a pink one. Kind of like an Air Diego thing. That's what you want to walk in with. Yeah, I had that on. I had
another unscarred.
I had that. So I'm sitting in like a holding cage, waiting for our physical stuff. And this big black guy, big but sloppy big, and he had military fatigue pants on, and he had Converse gym shoes with high tops with no shoelaces. And I'm sitting there, by myself, being quiet like I was told to by the guys I work for. He goes, hey man, he goes, what? He goes, when you get upstairs, man, you're gonna be fighting. Why don't we switch shoes? You can have these high tops. And so I stood up and I said, I just looked him in the face, and I'm the only white guy, and they're sitting on the little thing here. And I said, if you want my shoes, you gotta take them. So he saw me stand up. I got in his face, and I was expecting to have a fight. And he said nothing. He went and sat down.
That's a good precedent to set. Navigate.
Yeah, people say, oh, I'm gonna go punch Trump's the first biggest guy, you know, and you hear that shit, right? It's like, I don't think that's a good idea. But it's like, and man, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, here it goes. I swear to God, it's like, And so, I stood up and, oh my God, we're all walking, no matter what color, race, or whatever. Shifts, when they switch shifts to the guards, and they said, have you've been, he had us turn around. He goes, have you guys been strip searched yet? Nobody says anything. Have you? You're like, I go, no. I didn't lie to you first. Then they're like, you dumb mother effer, you fucking fag. It's why the fuck didn't you say no? And so then they divided us. So I went to another holding pen after we got strip search, and I don't know why or how. So I go into this other holding pen, and there's the benches around the exterior wall, and then there's like a bench in the middle. And there's a squatty, older, fat guy, not real old, but older than me at that time, with like 3 cardboard boxes full of like paperwork, and it was like 2 Hispanic and 2 black guys and me, so I just sit there and I'm still a little shell shocked about the strip search, but I'm like, holy fuck, what's the next adventure, And the black guy was laying on the bench and he's like this, and he goes, what's your problem, boy? I was like, fuck, I was like, he obviously could tell, he goes, man, I'm only like a couple hours into a 4-year sentence, and he starts laughing. And he gets up with a little squatty fat ass, and he's laughing. I wasn't physically at all scared or intimidated by the guy. And he goes, man, I'm fighting 2 death sentences. Wow. And I'm like, shit. He's like, oh, and so then they took us out. I had to go to Division 1, which was maximum security. And I don't think there was like only 5, 6 of us, right? I don't know, they must have taken us, brought us up in the manageable groups, you know what I mean? And he was in the front, and the guards were kissing his ass like he's a king, like a, like a big shot. And I'm like, wow, that's weird, So I go to Division 1, I got my bunk stuff. I'm like, fuck, it's a pod, and I got, little tiny day room, like this size, little TV, and then you got the cells on each side, and then you're like it's a prison inside the prison, because they're the exterior cells of your cell, and the guards walk around the house. It's just like you see on TV. It's like, fucking, and so, one of the guys from my high school was there. He was a drug addict. He was I call him glue heads. I was a jock. Never talked to him. He was like, do something. You knew who I was. It's like, at least they had a friendly face, And then I got exposed to hooch and marijuana. I didn't do any of that shit. But they were, it's like me trying to offer, here, take this out.
I meant to ask you, did you never do coke while you were selling it, or did you do it at Key?
So remember I said I did it after I got arrested?
Yes.
After I did it, So I did it the first time no, I never even saw it. Remember, I never saw it until they showed it to me.
Right.
Never saw it, never did it, never even had it on my car. It was just, I'm not that kind of person. Yes, I get in trouble doing stupid shit, but not, So I'm locked up in there, and that brought up this guy, and they knew who he was. He was the I-57. I forgot his name. Women's vagina killed him and shot people on is it I-55 or I-57? I forgot which one. Back in the 70s. So this was early 80s, right, or mid 80s, and so he was back fighting his death sentence. He's trying to appeal his death sentence. That's why. So you had to bring your legal paperwork with you.
This wasn't the guy in the line that the guards were kissing.
Because that guy's got death penalty. He has absolutely nothing to lose. So those are the most dangerous guys. To prison guards and to inmates.
So they're nice to him, so he doesn't kill them, right?
Yeah, or do whatever. They would throw, I got so many different stories we could do. They throw shit on the guards or people. When I was in Lincoln, the inmates cooking would put shit in the pot of what the rest of us would drink. I didn't drink it. I ate out of my locker. I had money, so I never, I bought my own commissary. I ate out of my locker, they called it. But yeah, they're animals. Not all of them, but they're animals. So, they treat them treated like animals. Yeah, they're treated, they treat this guy kindly because they don't want to suffer any ramifications of, him just not caring. I remember too, it's like I had nightmares before I went away, waking up and at home thinking I was in prison. I had a nightmare and I woke up, I thinking I'm in prison. And I'm home. And then the first night I woke up in prison, I thought I was home. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to cell by the bar, bars, you know, and I woke up and I'm looking in the early morning, I'm looking at bars. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm here. You dream but that was awful, man. That was awful. So then I went from there to Joliet. So I remember I said I came back on Joliet on work release, and so that's called the receiving center. So you got Joliet prison, and then you have receiving where we all go from Northern Illinois till we get assigned to our prison. And it doesn't matter, you're at different security levels mixed together, right? And they try to separate you. If they can, sort of loosely, you know, because I was with guys that double murderers and stuff like that. And so I go to Joliet. I remember I'm walking through to where we get sent to a cell, and we had to go shower and stuff. And then I'm looking through the fence where the main inmates are, and there's this black chick with the halter top, white t-shirt, you know, like, and shorts, you know, cut with fringe. I'm like, what the heck? They got that girl in there with all those inmates. And they're like, motherfucker. I'm like, how did this? It was a man, you know, it was a trick, man. Like, because I was like, what the hell? We got a chick in there. It's crazy. It was a transvestite, you know. And then I was put in the shower, and they had the ones from the ceiling. This is like what you see from the old meter. This was built, you know, a long time ago. I mean, obviously it upgrades, but this was the pipes you can pull down and shit. And there was a young white kid in there, and the blacks were getting around him in a circle. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I want to help him, you know. And they didn't rape him or anything, but they scared him. That doesn't mean it didn't happen inside, but so they might have been just letting them know on the outside, you know. And so then I had a cellmate named Moman, Lawrence Crawley is his name. Older guy, he had a limp, he had a cane, he had cornrows in his hair. And he was part of the Keystone Rangers or Blackstone, whatever they're called. Yeah, Blackstone. So he's in a gang? Yeah, it's a notorious gang. But like, pretty yeah, big time, yeah. And notorious, big time. I mean, internationally.
Feds actually set them up.
Yeah.
They were notorious, but they actually ended up
from one country
up against the federal government.
I mean, they were bad guys. They were bad fucking guys. So don't let, you know, Mr. Some like Quasi, whatever. He's got a little like, literally like turn in him that pops up every once in a while.
The secret agencies tend to be
saying that. I'm just saying, don't let them fool you though.
I didn't say innocent.
Okay, yeah, no, they're bad guys, man. I mean, you know, so he took a liking to me, and at that time, a guy named Fluky Stokes' son died, and he buried him in a Cadillac. Those guys.
It was a newsworthy story.
Yeah, he buried him in a Cadillac. Right, and so this guy sees he's asking me, so what do you think about black women, my man? You ever been with one? I'm like, no. You know, and then he's like, yeah, Fluke, you really fucked us over. So he's trying to like transition into language cards. And we were learning sign language. He asked me to get we're teaching sign language today too, you can talk to each other without being heard and stuff. Mm-hmm. So we started to learn that in our cell, you know. But you're not locked there a long time. You're waiting to get assigned somewhere, right? And so I was early on, and so I went to the cafeteria the first time. They're bullet holes. So when there's a fight, he goes, if there's a fight, you jump out on the ground, shoot above your head. You know, so one of the times I was there when I had just left here, do. I'm like, oh, because when I walked out, just luckily I left after that happened one time. And so I was in the chow hall, and they have and there's 3 phones, phones. Folks, people, and neutral. Right.
Bluetooth.
Said in Grenada we should go get married.
Grenada? What's this in Grenada?
Hello. My favorite part of the night when you text me that.
Like, what good is it when someone's in obedience with Allah? Does it justify that?
I can handle that because your preference of avocado oil or olive oil?
or it's an Italian sandwich. You make avocado oil.
Right.
You know, it's really good. It's
You take like focaccia and slice it
This
open, and
dude
then you put
discusses
like some tapenade on it,
makes value
and fucking
too out of
gabagool,
that.
and some provolone. That's good.
That's a soprano thing.
And Capicola?
Oh, not gabagool.
I know. I just said it. I know what it is.
Which one do you use, spicy or sweet?
I like sweet, and then if I want the spicy, I'll add like a dry salami on it as well, just spicy.
Fair enough. That's actually, see, kudos. Understands flavor. Oof. Mwah. All right. So, did everybody show up for the atheist Christian debate one-on-one stuff? Because I'm not participating. I'm supposed to be a neutral person in this situation. I am not a Christian today. I am a moderator. So I can't be a moderator and engage in debate at the same time. I don't know if that's what people showed up for, but find a Christian to debate with, and let's get it rolling. Or the audience can change the dynamic. This is for you guys. So whatever you want to discuss, whatever you want to do, give some suggestions. Maybe I should make in the scientific organization. There are a lot of. Well, let me finish.
No, I'm not let you finish, because you got how are you using faith in this context? Faith is as in trusting in things unseen and unknown. That's the faith. Shut up, Jay. Shut up, Jay. Shut up, Jay.
The non-scientists.
Shut up, Jay.
They have faith.
Shut up, Jay. You're confused. You're a lost boy. Shut up, Jay. You're a lost boy. Are you a Muslim? Are you a Christian? Are you Catholic? You make up your mind every day. You change your underwear. So Regal, when you say faith in that context, are you referring to faith in things unknown and unseen? Because that's the faith I'm calling useless, especially when it comes to leading you to truth.
Yeah,
and science does
I would
not
actually
rely
agree
on.
with that. And the entailment of what I'm trying to say is I would place my trust and faith in the scientific organization, because there's dozens of people that I can't
You
see.
just contradict yourself then. You can't say I use faith to have trust in the scientific method. That's not what the scientific method is based upon. It's not based upon things unseen or known.
The people that I agree.
Shut up, Jay, you're a confused boy. Shut up, Jay, you're a confused boy. So the point is, you can't do that, Regal.
Are you gonna respond to that?
I agree with you.
I didn't hear you because I kept over talking about it. I don't care what you say.
And guys, I'm Christian with a couple of questions.
Oh shit, here comes Prime.
Well, JCC, if you want to take that one-on-one with Prime here, go for it.
What's your question?
And peace and blessings to the panel.
Pizza and blessing.
And blessings. I'm a devout Christian. I know there's a God.
Whoa, you know there's a God?
Yeah.
What God do you know of?
Is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the creator of the world.
How do you know that this God exists and created the world? What's your methodology for knowledge?
Okay, because I've tried Scientology.
I don't care about that. I want to understand your methodology for knowing.
It's rude to interrupt a man in the midst of his speech. If you Bible, you would know that. Anything else is mental illness.
Okay, you're not giving a logical explanation for your pathway to knowledge of God, the God you think created the world. Are you saying the God created the world or the universe?
No, I'm speaking of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in particular.
And you said it's the God that created everything. So how do you know that? What's your pathway to knowing?
Okay, well, first off, your presidents all swear to that God.
Who cares about the presidents, bro? I'm asking about you.
No,
he's ridiculous. Oh, let him. How about you talk to him, Thomas? Go ahead. Go ahead. Christian to Christian.
What was your question?
Thomas, remember, you have to be on by.
I am being unbiased.
His leaders believe it's real.
Who cares about my fucking leaders? I'm asking about you, dude. You keep dodging and prevaricating the question I presented to you. Child, you suck at this.
Okay, see, he doesn't let me speak, guys, so it's real difficult.
It's your turn to speak. Went on mute.
Okay, do you want to reiterate that question in a simple form?
Which question? So you need to be simplified with. Okay, my original question was,
Go ahead.
You made a claim that you know the God exists, right? Then I asked you to clarify which God. Then you said the Abrahamic God, and you also clarified, added the creator of all things, right? So I asked you, what is you meaning you, Prime, what is your methodology to coming to knowing this? That's what I asked you. And then you prevaricated with all other explanations other than answering the question. So now that I simplified it, do you understand my question? And can you...
Yeah, you're for basically what's my proof that my God's real?
No, that's not... Okay, can you, Prime, repeat my question verbatim as I asked it to you?
Everybody, is he not asking if my God's real and what's my proof?
Holy shit, this guy's an idiot. Regal, where do you get these people from?
I actually agree with you. Sometimes I hang out with my atheist friends. They have difficulty having a dialogue. And, I do know where we were at. You're semantically asking me, how do I understand faith? How do I define it? Do you agree with that definition? That's where we left off that before. Brian wanted to get himself involved. But that's good that you want to do that, though, because it's good to clarify whether or not we're on the same page and using words interchangeably in the dialogue. Therefore, we don't, misrepresent each other. So I see what you're getting at here. And by the way, don't be a female, Prime. Pay attention to what JCC is saying, not how he's saying it. The only people that get a pass in this room on that point are women. Women particularly pay attention to how you say things, not exactly what you're saying all the time. And, they get a little emotional.
Are you trying to poke at me, Regal? Not to
I'm being silly. It's just a joke.
Being silly. Did you?
I promise it is. It's actually.
I'll give you a bat wing that gets you real emotional.
A spicy bat wing?
Slap you in the cover.
Actually, if a woman did that with the wing, so to say, it would be more like a face hugger than a bat wing.
A spicy bat wing? Like a chicken wing?
If I could respond, JCC simply asked me, what's my evidence of my belief in God? He says, no,
you fucking idiot. No.
Holy
no, Nargis, no. No, I'm not emotional. You're totally wrong.
You're acting like a child.
No, I'm not.
I'm correct.
You said right? That's different than belief. Knowledge is way different than belief. So I'm going to reiterate one more time. Here we go. I would like you to repeat what I asked you.
Be intellectual and just be simple.
What's intellectual?
What's my topic? What's your evidence?
No, it's not. What is your methodology? No, what is your...
Shut up. Asking for your theory of justification.
Yeah, what is your methodology to knowing this God?
And my theory of justification is evidence. That's it. It's not that difficult, guys. Trying to use big words does not make you sound smart.
Those aren't big words.
Are you using to justify your belief in God?
Okay. Now, my evidence for my pathway to justification is that your own leaders agree with me. Science agrees with me. History agrees with me. Now, if you're upset that your
science does not weigh in on
God.
On God. No,
it doesn't.
Historians have never, found any historicity that validates the actual existence of a God. All they do is document the people mentioning the God and the type of cultural context around it, and how this, where they find evidence, artifacts, and all this other stuff. Doesn't prove that God exists, dude. So
okay, now let me respond.
If you're talking about Jesus, there's only two facts that historians have consensus on that are historic facts about Jesus. One, that he was baptized by John the Baptist, and two, that he was crucified by the Romans. That's it. Everything else in the Bible is not established as historic fact. I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, you spoke for 3 minutes. Can I speak for 3 minutes?
No, I did not speak for 3 minutes.
Can I speak for the same amount of time you did unmolested?
Time blind?
It was like
I'm trying to have
40. It was like 25 seconds at max.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's funny because
So what did
I
I
just
just
stopped the
say
clock
to
and it
you?
was 2
What did I
minutes.
just say to you? Right?
Can I reply, or is this going to be a dictatorship?
Well, I want to know that you actually bothered to listen to me.
No,
You're just
you
waiting.
said absolutely
You're just
nothing.
waiting to
You
speak
said
instead of actually
absolutely
listening to
nothing.
people.
Are you guys going to let me respond or not? Just say no.
I think it's inappropriate for you to continue. I think you're not a really good contestant or contender here.
So you guys are going to bully people.
Well, you're arguing with the point of moderation. And that's
No,
not
I'm
good.
arguing
I mean,
with the
I'm a
right to
fellow
respond.
Christian theist myself, and I'm trying to take some sort of.
You sure don't act like that because you're
route.
a respecter of persons.
Now you're arguing.
You're showing a respecter of persons. That's not a Christian.
I'm a very devout Christian. Also, I'm a very devout Catholic. I think there's a lot of people that can attest for that. I'm trying to help you. Cora's trying to help you. You're getting a point of moderation, and that's why you got removed from the panel. You can't even, like, Cora is trying to help you. We're trying to get lift off. We haven't even got past the basic semantics and understanding and priors here for the argument to actually happen and unfold. I'm sorry, Cora. I apologize for
No, it's
him.
no big deal.
Apologize for him.
That's about it.
So sorry, Cora.
He's probably not even in the room anymore.
He left. He can come.
You can finish, but I'd really love to speak when you're done. Thank you.
Oh no, yeah. I was just making sure Brian knew where she was kind of getting her information. But the question is that that's not the majority who were doing illegal activity and who were scamming, and they got money like that. I mean, but
yeah, I mean, like when you look at somebody like Rick Scott, who
I really do have something to say before about that you really valued knowing something because you heard, you've experienced this stuff firsthand. I lived for 33 years in Minneapolis in the Somali neighborhood. And so that is my community. And so I would eat in the restaurants and go to the Somali sort of neighborhood market and it was really heartbreaking to see the way this community has been scapegoated, and that about the Feeding Our Future childcare sort of scam that happened during the pandemic. That was a woman named Amy Bach, who was a white woman. That was her initiative. She was the mastermind behind the whole thing. It was a white woman. I think it's so interesting and how she has been written out of this story. And that the reason we know that story is because Minnesota was already prosecuting about what had happened. And I'm thinking about, I know many of you probably saw this. I was in this, the nonprofit sort of sphere when during the pandemic, money checks were coming out and it was supposed to be a loan and it was not sure it was going to happen. Minnesota was exploring that. How many other states had similar related kinds of frauds happening? And this one that the states never were investigating what was going on, what had gone on. So, and I think it was not a coincidence that the Trump administration targeted the Somali community and the Somali community in the Midwest in Minnesota because they really expected that the tropes about the stranger and the other and the racism in Minnesota would mean that people who were white in Minnesota would be very much in support of the claims that were being made about the Somali community. But part of how those people, all of the people in a lot of the immigrant population in Minnesota and refugee populations were that the churches organized to be able to provide the largest Tibetan population in the United States outside of New York. We have an enormous community of Hmong who at the end of the Vietnam War were given a haven in Minnesota. And I think what the administration didn't anticipate affecting neighbors, and that rose above the expected reaction that people wouldn't. My friends, everyone I knew, they were waking up at 5 a.m. to go and to drive people to be able to work. There are still people to this day with at the end of the school year who would stand arm in arm, neighbors around the school to protect the children coming out of the school at the end of the day. It was worse than it looked. The social media, the news, the only thing I've ever seen that was actually even more brutal than the stories in terms of what's gone on. And so I think there's something really interesting about how it really relates so much about what you've been talking about community, that how do you establish community long before the crisis happens? So when you're sort of anticipating, look, we're headed towards water crisis. We're already there in many communities. How do we build communities around our overlapping shared self-interest that actually gets higher priority without the crisis needing to be what forges our way together? So that's something I'm really curious about. And I just also want to acknowledge the tension between the African American community and the Somali community, and the way this deep pattern in the United States around the African American and the historic African American community, that deep pattern of everybody gets to rise above faster and then gets compared, and there's this deep-seated pattern, and how do we undo that pattern so that that communities that are struggling for dignity aren't fighting each other? How do we set the conditions where there's again this pattern, as Leroy was saying before, it goes way back of sort of dividing people who had shared economic interests by as long as you were sort of white or a model minority, then you had certain points of entry, you had certain access. So there's something, and how do we undo that deep pattern? And I think that part of coming back to the part about Mandami, that there's this hope that just keeps getting smashed over and over again by politicians that maybe we can do something for the betterment, of all. So that's what I'm thinking about.
I say when they are sympathetic to them, you're so embracing them, but you still put your foot on the black man's neck. So you are the problem, you and your people.
I agree. Florence, I agree. That's the path.
You and your people is the problem.
I'm exactly talking about what's going on, that we keep perpetuating that pattern, that these model minorities come in, but once again, the Black community, the African American community, that is just can't get any. That the structure is so deep to keep people down. I agree with you, Florence. That's what I'm bringing. That's what I'm trying to say.
Trying to say white people got
that
your fault.
conversation needs to be had amongst white people. Because see, even though we are affected, it's a white problem.
Yes, Mace. Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
There's certain conversations that we're gonna have to have. I feel we're gonna have to have, and that is going to have.
These conversations are happening all day, every day amongst retards here at Clown House. All you people do is think in terms of race consciousness. You are low IQ, unread, uneducated, and you yourselves are racist and projecting your own racism onto white people. And Wendy, shame on you for accepting Florence's bullshit.
Take a moment to block him, everybody, so you don't have to worry about.
I don't know. I didn't even see who that
was. It was just a troll, somebody who's not getting enough love or attention in life, or they're just entitled.
Well,
so
you know.
He
ain't
wrong.
He ain't wrong. That's what I was trying to say. It's simple. It's simple, but it's not going to be easy.
He ain't
There's certain
wrong.
conversations that need to be held within community.
We're gonna need to have these
and
conversations sooner or later to figure all this out. It's time we start having the hard conversations.
Their community. And every group needs to sit in this country and talk amongst themselves and educate themselves and make sure they know exactly where they are and what direction they want to move in. Because racism affects everybody who isn't white.
We got him
it's
good.
A white problem.
We got him good.
Wait, I agree with you there, but I think the mistake that's often made is that people think that racism benefits white people. And the real secret of racism, and a lot of thinkers have talked about this, is that racism hurts everybody. The justification that like black people are subhuman is used to justify why white people can't have better lives as well. Race was started as a construct to try and pit people against people. So in the end, the people with power could exploit them. So on the net, white people lose out from racism, but they lose out way less seemingly than black people. And so because we have this like kayfabe and competitive framing, people go, on some level, they like racism, they want to excuse it or justify it. And what this does is it justifies the core concepts of dehumanization. It justifies that people don't deserve better quality of life because there's those people. So as long as you have them to blame, those in power can leech you dry and blame it on, and which I even hear in this room, and you'll hear this inter-minority communities, you'll hear it from the dominant communities. It's such a potent message, and there's nothing that can, in a way, there's like no way to deconstruct it, because no matter what, people will always say that you just don't get it. There's something true or you don't understand. And it's very hard to prove people where the suffering comes from. So if like you can demonstrate that 99% of the wealth is going to this very tiny amount of people, but it's not immigrants, they'll take an example of like an immigrant doing a bad thing and say, now I've proved the rule. Because that's what the concept of race does. You are all your race. It's a white problem, it's a black problem, it's a women's problem, it's a men's problem. And the secret is, I think it keeps us, you can't be race blind because the race problems are still there, right? That's one of the lies.
Wait a minute. Let's clarify some things, because I think a lot of people conflate racism with bias. Okay? There's a difference. The black community cannot be racist in the United States for one very simple reason. We do not control not one system in this country. We do not have the power to oppress not one group in this country. The social structure is one thing. We have our biases, but when you have the economic and political as well as the governmental systems in place to that display or able to implement those policies that highlight a bias from a particular group towards others, then you, that group, are able to be racist. We do not have the economic standing to be racist. Anybody can express a bias. I like chocolate ice cream over vanilla. I like reading a book versus watching the movie of it. Those are particular preferences and biases. becomes racist when I have a whole system that says, okay, I'm not producing your movie because it doesn't praise me and my people. It doesn't depict me and my people in the light that I want. So either you reconfigure things to my liking or you won't get funded. That's one way. Systems are actually, and when you try to discuss the intersectionality of all of these things with people, like Brian said before about racism and some other things, and look, people start looking at you weird. It's like, yeah, one has an effect on the other, which has an effect on the other. You've got to have certain dominoes in a row in order to have certain outcomes. And it's, like I said, certain things, certain tropes, certain slurs, certain things popping off in different communities. It's like a systems check. Let's see how far the programming is going, the social cues. Because see, socially, we behave a certain kind of way. And we all have our biases. And to me, that's fine when you have your biases. Those are yours. You're free to have those. The problem comes into play.
Wanted to. Well, Matt still thinks that people have free will, so I mean they could have, they just didn't.
You're free.
Not in a libertarian sense.
Yeah, you're free, just free to sin.
Well, John has that view too. He's a compatibilist.
And my question is like, what causes the action to obtain? Is it the eternal decree, right? It's infallible without contingency, you know? Or is it the mutable creature that originates as a true secondary cause? I think like the concessions, when you get into them, they deny that there's any type of foreknowledge that funds the decree, right? So it wouldn't be based on, right, any action by the creature. It would be
Foreknowledge?
that foreknowledge funds the decree.
What the fuck?
Can you answer the question in the chat, Andrew? Do you openly read?
Yeah, the contention is just explicit that the foreknowledge doesn't fund the decree. So he doesn't decree a thing because it's look forward, right, to see what the creature will do. Right, so I mean the question is what causes the action to obtain?
Yeah, exactly. That's correct.
Yeah, right. So the question is what causes the action to obtain, right? Is it the creature, right? The mutable creature that does the thing is the origin, right? The secondary cause of the iniquity, or is it the decree, right? Whether bare permission or not. And I think they deny bare permission, right? So even the permission is going to be causative because a thing doesn't obtain unless God causes it, right? In the paradigm. So, you know, like what's the ultimate explanatory power for why a thing happens? And, you know, it would just be the decree because, you know,
yeah, something causal chain of events irrelevant. John is not a Christian.
You know the next thing right now.
As far as
it's not me, man.
principles, clearly
it's not you,
God
is
is
it?
the one pass.
Oh, is it Bro,
like fucking get clue, dude.
Sorry, your voices are actually maybe a little similar. I just don't know. That's fine. Sorry, Tom.
Same spirit.
Hey, Spirit, is that music? Yeah. Sorry, Tom. I apologize for confusing you with that.
Tom, did you say that you thought that Joe is grifting, or no?
No, I'm a person who like doesn't even know who this guy is.
Oh, okay. Pepper, you're on record, right? Ethan and Joe are both grifting, right?
I mean, Is it wrong to monetize your YouTube channel?
Oh, of course not.
Andrew, my son is Charlie in the bedroom. I'm in the garage. I'll be off mic.
Okay.
But John, in what context, right, Jane? The context.
Well, maybe the context is success breeds contempt.
Well, do you think it's not wrong to monetize the YouTube channel full stop? Do you think it is not wrong? Full stop, John?
I think there's nothing inherently wrong with it. Motivation.
Yeah, so in all contexts, monetizing the YouTube channel is not wrong.
It's not going to say in and of itself is not wrong. You understand per se?
Right, and so there's a context in which Joe is doing it, which is acceptable, right?
But again, it does not have to do with monetization.
Well, you just mentioned monetization, dude.
This motivation is not bigger than
Guys, we got Uncle John here tonight, man. He's making an early entrance.
yeah. It's been a very hectic day.
How was the beach? Cool?
20 degrees less than here.
To within your argument that say that this is something solid and present, what's that? Alternative facts. There's no such thing. It doesn't even make sense. If you can, it does not compute. The only reason why we
rule. Breaking news: federal judge has tempered the United States Postal Service mail ballot rule. Y'all remember what that is, right?
Well, this is the same judge that had issued the initial injunction that was lifted by the Supreme Court. Now, what has changed in the interim is the post office issued final rules. And the Trump administration or the Supreme Court had said, we don't know, if there's a final rule, come back to us. So the judge, basically what she said is it's almost, before even hearing the case, she said she's putting into place this injunction before she hears the arguments, right, so that nothing will change. They will, I believe, go to the Supreme Court as soon as they can to ask for this particular injunction to be lifted. And now we're going to see if the Supreme Court actually will look at the merits of what the post office is doing, or at the very least say it is impossible to do what the post office wants to do within the time frame allowed before the midterms, because that is in fact the truth.
Yeah, of course it's impossible, because they're saying they have to print new special envelopes, and they have to send these mail-in envelopes. They have to send them to people within the next 2-3 weeks. It's ridiculous.
Well, if you talk about the burden on the states, most states have already printed their materials, and they would have to reprint everything. They also have to comply. They have to send in lists to the government and hope that the post office then sends them back ballots, which will not necessarily occur because the post office really has no provisions for doing this type of matching or setting up these envelopes either. So it's a nightmare. There's no time. In fact, in North Carolina, the initial date for, I believe, even starting is September 4th. I think that's the earliest one. So you can't. What Trump has tried to do is basically throw the U.S. election, the midterm election, into chaos, right? Because that's what will happen here. We'll have ballots not being sent to legitimate voters. We'll have people not having ballots delivered. It's going to be a disaster. If, in fact, the Supreme Court does